grounds of Paulsboro High School in Paulsboro, New Jersey, Channel 5 Sports presents high school football. Today, the state Group 1 state championship game between Paulsboro and Glassboro. Hello again, everyone. Rob Christ along with my partner, Sean Leary. Crisp, cold, 37 degrees, winds gusting up to 22 miles per hour. All in all, again, a great day for football. Two great teams, two storied programs, two fine coaches. All in all, this is going to be a dandy.
Well, let's just get something started right from the beginning, Rob. These are kids that have started from lifting weights during the offseason, getting prepared, watching film, watching everything that they needed to find from other teams to get to this point right now, and that's the South Jersey Championship. Going through all them hard days of practice, now in the cold, they wouldn't rather be any other place than be in this championship game. These are two teams, Paulsboro and Glassboro, who knows what it's like, this atmosphere, a playoff atmosphere. They got to be excited, and it gets me pumped up.
Well, we talked about both of these teams with great traditions, and again, two fine coaches. We spoke to each. First, Herb Nealio from Glassboro talks about today's keys to the game.
Offensively, we're going to have to, like any other big game, we're going to have to limit the mistakes, turnovers. They're very good. I think their strength is up front. So if, whoever wins that line of scrimmage, I think is going to have a good game. We're going to try to do the same thing we've been doing all year long. We've been, playing sound defense, running to the football. Kids been tackling well, just playing fundamental defense. We're going to ask Timmy to run the offense. I think he did an excellent job last week against Deptford. He did it against Gloucester in the second playoff game, and last week against Deptford, he did an excellent job of just running the offense. He didn't try, a couple times there was nothing there. He threw the ball away. We didn't have turnovers. He just did the little things and did what we asked of him, just to move the ball, move the chains.
I don't know if you had an opportunity to check out Herb Nealio's sweatshirt, that 12-0 record from 1999. They're trying to replicate that this afternoon. Over on the other side of the ball, Glenn Howard, what a great tradition he's had here at Paulsboro. He's really created this sense that every year is a championship year. Again, he talked about what they need to do specifically in the beginning of the game and the adjustments they'll make.
Offensively, we're going to try to pretty much feel them out in the first quarter. The first couple series. See what kind of fronts they're giving us, what kind of coverages they're giving us. Then we'll know a little bit better of how we want to attack them. Defensively, we're going to try to mix it up a little bit. We got a couple different looks than some of the things we've done throughout the course of the season. I think it's just better to mix it up at this point in time because of some of the personnel they have. With Rude's speed and his ability to get through the outside, we got to change a couple of our secondary checks. You got to keep an eye for George Johnson. He's a good pass catcher. He can break big plays. You got to contain the fullback in the middle, and like you said, Haggerty's a good passer, so we got to try to get some pressure on them.
Let's now talk about some of the people that have direct impact on today's game, namely the players. The one I like to talk about, Tim Haggerty. The diminutive one. What a great player. Quarterback, small in stature, big in results.
Well, he has a big-time arm, too, Rob. This is a guy who's thrown, I think, 16 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards, and he just spreads the ball around. They have developed such a balance of attack with the run game, and then you are adding Tim Haggerty, who's really developed and blossomed into a terrific quarterback. He puts the ball on the hands of his receivers, and he's not a big guy, like Rob said. He doesn't have the huge number. He has the huge numbers, but doesn't have that big, 6'2" frame, but he's got a big arm, and he puts the ball where it needs to be so that people can catch it and run with it, and he's been getting it out to Shamar Gaines. He's had a terrific season, developed into a great quarterback, and this is a guy that really is going to have a tough problem throwing the ball in the teeth of this 22-mile-an-hour wind, but he's a guy who's got that big arm and he can place it. He's a senior. He's going to make smart decisions for you.
Well, let's see what Tim had to say about today's afternoon.
I'm just going to try to control the game, run the offense. If I do that, we have a very good chance of winning. Our defense has played very well, like you said, all year, and so they should be able to get the job done. And what it means to me, like I said, all year long, all these kids are like brothers to me, and like the pride in the school for the football team is just the legacy almost. And going 12-0 will only be the second team ever to do that. And with all these good teams that come through, it's amazing, to have that opportunity. I'm trying to take advantage of it.
One of the things I really like about Haggerty this year is he's making smart decisions. He's putting the ball in places where only his receivers can make the play, and he's making smart passes. He's not being forced or hurried to do something that's going to prohibit him from having a great season, and he's done that pretty much all year long. This is a guy who just likes to sling that ball around, and he's having fun doing it, Rob.
Well, this Paulsboro team very banged up. DeAndre Folks missing. A tough loss for this Paulsboro team. Last week we had an opportunity to see them against West Effort. If there was one player that really stepped up in that game, it was Daniel Sharper. Let's talk to Daniel and see what he has to say about the tradition here at Paulsboro and what will transpire.
It should be a hard game because Glassboro and Paulsboro are rivals. People from town to town know each other. I got cousins that live in Glassboro. We just got to play with some heart. Come out ready to play. It's going to probably be a defensive game. They fast. They usually always got some team speed, so try to use my open field moves more. Try to get what I can instead of like cutting back more.
One of the things that Daniel Sharper is going to have to do today is be able to catch the ball and then make plays after the catch. He's going to have to make the first person miss. He's the go-to guy for Paulsboro today through the passing game. Now, I know the wind's going to bother him a little bit, but this is a guy that needs to play big in this game. Paulsboro down without its top running back will have to find a way to move the ball through the air, and Daniel Sharper is that go-to guy for Paulsboro in this game. He has to have a big game in order for the Red Raiders to actually have a legitimate chance in this football game.
Of course, we've talked offense. Think about the defense of these two teams. Paulsboro, in these last 4 weeks, have given up at least 3 touchdowns in 3 of the 4 weeks, uncharacteristic of this Paulsboro team. Glassboro, conversely, everybody talks about their offense, but what a great defense. They have not allowed more than a touchdown since the opener against Pensgrove way back in September when things were appreciably warmer. Stick around. It's going to be a good one. We'll have it for you after this. Welcome back to Paulsboro High School, about to get underway. Paulsboro and Glassboro, again, two teams with storied traditions. One of these teams has appeared in the Group 1 final in every year since 1992, save one. So that gives you some indication of the expectations of these two programs. These two teams, again, with great seasons. A bit of a letdown last week. Big loss, Paulsboro defeated by West Effort here on Channel 5, 38-3. Glassboro looking to extend their undefeated season to 12-0 and cap a perfect record once again and replicate that 1999 effort. Glassboro will start off kicking off, and it's going to be Sharper who will try to field the ball, has some trouble, picks it up, and brought down right away. So a bit of a misplay. We talked about this gusting wind, and Sharper turns it into a bit of a nightmare.
This was in 2000. Glassboro came in as heavy favorites under Sakeen Wright, Terrence Holmes, and the gang, and Paulsboro, an underdog during that game, was led by Isaac Redmond, the sophomore, as you see there. And we know about his storied tradition here. Paulsboro had a terrific career now at Bowie State. Paulsboro, the underdog in that game, was able to knock off the heavily favored Bulldogs. They'll have to do the same today.
Paulsboro won that game 21-15. And a tight one. Paulsboro getting a push from that offensive line. A good start here for Paulsboro.
I think it's real important for Paulsboro to establish the line of scrimmage early in this game, just because of the fact that the Bulldogs probably have a quicker strike offense. Paulsboro going to have to ground it out. Field position is going to be important. And with Darrell Rhodes, the first kick of the game, Paulsboro backed up. They're going to need to get a couple of first downs.
Silvestro in motion. 2 wide receivers split, inside handoff. Not a whole lot there. Again, this Glassboro team has been flat out stingy on defense. We talked about it in the open, only yielding more than a touchdown in one game, and that was a blowout win over Pensgrove to start the season. In fact, 4 of their last 5 games have been shutouts. The only team to score was Group 2 Deptford. When we say Group 2, remember last year, Deptford was the Group 3 South Jersey champion. Second down for the Red Raiders. Giordano, your quarterback. Remember last week he was hurt. Big pickup, and now Paulsboro grinding it out all the way to the 40-yard line. First down and 10, Red Raiders.
Well, it's important for the Red Raiders to come out strong in this game. And here you see just playing a little bit of power football. Going to go between the tackles here. That's a play they can run the option off of, but this is just power running this time by Hamilton. He's going to run through the teeth of the Glassboro defense and run over a couple of guys. And it's important for Paulsboro to start off this game strong and establish the running game, especially in the middle of that Glassboro defense.
And that's exactly what they're going to continue to do as Mears tries to soften up the middle of that Glassboro defense. And again, a sizable pickup. This is something we did not see last week, Sean, on first down. Paulsboro getting big chunks, and of course that really sets up your series.
You're exactly right. I mean, I know the wind's blowing pretty good here, but once you are able to pick up 2, 3, 4 yards on first down, and then you can do a little bit more. You can put them back on their heels a little bit and maybe go out for a pass or something like that, but you don't have to be forced to pass the ball in a second and long situation as opposed to being 2nd, 4, 2nd, and 5. That really puts that defense at a disadvantage.
From the eye, Giordano again, hands off, and this time stopped behind the line of scrimmage.
That's George Johnson. He might have had his best game last week against Deptford, but you're going to just see him come off that right edge. And he's 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". You can see those long arms come in, gets that push off the right end, and is able to bring down the ball carrier in the back behind the line of scrimmage. This is one of the best defenders in South Jersey.
Oh, we spoke at length about Johnson earlier in the year and exactly what he brings to the table on both sides of the football. And he'll line up and he'll kind of switch things up, typically go to the strong side, and Johnson again with the rush. Giordano across the middle, and it's tipped intended for Silvestro. And that falls incomplete. So despite not picking up a first down there, I think Paulsboro has to feel good about moving the football on the ground.
Well, it's so important in the field position game, and that's the one area I think in special teams that Paulsboro may have an advantage. They get backed up on their first possession. You think, oh no, with Glassboro's defense, this could spell trouble for the Red Raiders. But a nice job just picking up a couple of first downs, moving the ball.
End over end punt is angled towards the sideline, and it looks like it will be spotted at about the 20-yard line. Actually the 17. So first down and 10 for Glassboro. Paulsboro able to move the football, eat up some clock, generate some confidence, and back up this Glassboro offense.
Now, Rob, usually we throw you the starters on both offense and defense, and today we're without a graphics machine in cold weather.
What's your brother going to do down there?
Same thing, he always does, nothing.
Hey, that's what brothers are for.
There you see Glenn Howard, coach here at Paulsboro, who throw out the numbers. I know this team comes in as an underdog, but he certainly can limit a team such as Glassboro, who has had such a terrific offense through the year, limit what they can do offensively because of his game plan and his scheme, and being able to teach his kids to implement his schemes. I mean, he is one of the best coaches in any sport in Gloucester County, and and I know Herb Neely is a good coach on his side, but he's thinking, wow, I'm going to lock up with Glenn Howard. This is going to be a good test.
Rhodes no gain on the carry, second down and 10. And Haggerty pitches, Rhodes fumbles, picks it up, and then is hammered.
I think he still jumped on that ball. Looked like he was even moving after he was able to pick it up. He got leveled by one of the Red Raider defenders, and this is a kind of a start that Glassboro didn't want to see, not being able to run effectively on first and second down.
Well, this is the Paulsboro team that we really expected to come out like this last week against West Deptford. And a rare misstep last week against West Deptford, but you know, you got the sense, and speaking with some of the Paulsboro faithful around here, the week of practice was appreciably better, and they really had a lot of confidence coming into today, and it's shown here early. Haggerty and the screen, this may be a lateral, and it is thrown towards the sideline out of bounds, so a smart play to just kind of scoop it and shoot it over by the sideline for Shamar Gaines. So even though it's a lateral, that's actually their first positive gain on a fumble.
They go to Gaines. Gaines 6'2". When we talked about Sharper for Paulsboro being the go-to guy in the air for Glassboro, Shamar Gaines. He's a terrific athlete, and he's going to make people miss in that secondary. He's another guy that's been a big play go-to guy for the Bulldogs this season.
One of the things that I think Glassboro really needs to do, or needed to do in that series, was to pick up a first down and try to eat some clock, because right now that wind is harsh and they're going to get great field position. A spiral mitigates the wind, and then Sharper again allows it to drop, and that will roll all the way back to the 37-yard line. So a nice punt for Glassboro will result in a Paulsboro first down, and maybe the best play of that series.
Well, that's a nice pump, and then you see the Paulsboro fans, and they got to like the start so far when in the battle of the field position. But that time Sharper, you know, you think, why doesn't he catch up? Well, he's right there. There's a Glassboro defender on it, and with the wind blowing this hard, he's thinking, all right, I just don't want to make a mistake here. We'll just get that ball into our offensive hands and see if we can move the ball downfield using Giordano and some of the weapons that we have in the backfield, and also, of course, Daniel Sharper on the wideout.
Giordano hands off on the first down play, and that is Mears with the carry. Mears really carried the load last week against West Deptford, and this week a little bit more of Jeff Hamilton here early. But Mears picks up again a big gain, call it 5, second down and 5 for the Red Raiders. Something we haven't talked about, Sean. Giordano last week banged up. Good to see him back in the lineup.
Yeah, I think everyone here is surprised to see him back in the lineup. You know, at the beginning of the week, they didn't think he was going to be able to go. And that knee just seemed to improve as the week went on. He started working out with the first team, and now you have him under center, and that's a big boost for this Paulsboro team.
Pitch. That is Mears. He puts the ball on the ground, and it is recovered by Paulsboro, but off of the fumble, they'll lose about a yard. He was very close to a first down. That'll bring up a critical third down.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, and your fingers just don't work right when it's this cold. Until you start getting into the game, the hands just don't work, the fingers aren't working, and that's where we're seeing a couple of fumbles early on. I mean, you know when you're in the cold, your hands are kind of tight and everything, and that's just, you got to really loosen them up as the game goes along. So it's not surprising to see guys that are, you know, putting the ball on the ground a little bit. You need to really tuck it in and secure it, especially early in the game, because it's probably one of the colder games of the year for both teams.
And a quick sneak by Giordano will result in, depending on the spot, it looks from here to be a first down.
Yeah, we're right on this 50-yard line. This looks like he's got it. This is one of the things that Giordano gives Paulsboro instead of Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell did a terrific job coming in last week, and you can see he had a good arm. Put in that situation, not expecting to see playing time with Giordano. But Giordano's got a little bit more of a ground game. Now he's hampered a little bit with the injury. This is setting up in a running play.
Again, a fumble. A big hit, helmet on the ball. Glassboro recovers at the 32 and returned to the 37-yard line. A big pickup as Ralph Carr Jr. picked it off of the hop. Helmet on the football. Turnover, Glassboro.
Yeah, they're just going to try to play a little power football, go right through the middle with Hamilton. Like I said, you know, you got to hold on to that ball securely.
Shamar Gaines
gets picked from the backside. Looked like somebody hit him from the backside. And now giving Glassboro the ball. The field position changes hands slightly now to the Bulldogs in this first quarter.
Well, that looked to be Shamar Gaines with the helmet on the football, and he's had 2 plays that have been large early. 1st and 10, Glassboro, 37-yard line. And Haggerty hands off, and that Paulsboro line is coming up huge here early. A loss of 2 yards.
You know, when you look at Glassboro's schedule and you wonder, would they have faced somebody to this point as big as Paulsboro's line is? But last week they did it against Deptford, and that was a huge test for the Bulldogs. You know, they went through that Classic Division not maybe facing some of the bigger lines that they were going to see, especially here at Paulsboro, but they did an excellent job against Deptford. So you have to know this team was ready for Paulsboro.
Haggerty pitches to Rhodes, and Rhodes goes to the short side and picks up a few to the 40-yard line, and that'll bring up again a long third down here for Haggerty. And remember, Haggerty, I think he's more of the accurate passer as opposed to the strong arm passer. Keeping that in mind, Sean, this wind really mitigates his efficacy.
All right, the wind's blowing hard from the Glassboro side of the field to the Paulsboro sidelines. So you're right, it's going to be difficult for him to be able to have as much accuracy as he would have had earlier in the season.
Third down. High formation. Play action. Haggerty rolls. He's getting good pressure from Silvestro. Throws it up in the air and wisely over to the sideline.
Well, that was accurate. He wanted to throw that ball as far out of bounds as he possibly could so he wouldn't get it picked, because he was under a heavy rush, and that time you just want to get it out. Get it away from the sideline. Don't put it in the middle of the field where you can get it picked. Just get the ball out of there and punt. And this is what they want to do, is roll him out. See, with Paulsboro's rush, they're going to have to be able to roll Haggerty out and allow those receivers to buy some time downfield. He's getting a heavy rush that time by Silvestro from the backside and Demetrius Hester up the middle. And that's just a good decision. I talked about that in the opening with his good decisions. Right there, you just throw the ball, put the defense out on the field.
End over end, Sharper again watches it roll all the way back to the 20-yard line. And as you mentioned before, a Glassboro defender right on top of Sharper. We'll step away, 3:50 left. First quarter, Group 1, South Jersey Championship game, scoreless here at Glassboro. Welcome back to Paulsboro High School. I misspoke heading into break. We're not at Glassboro, we're at Paulsboro. Second down after a short gain. Again, South Jersey Group 1 championship game. Last year, Paulsboro, of course, squared off against Shalleck and lost 20-6. Prior to that, Paulsboro had won 3 of the last 4 years. And of course, it was Shalleck who had won the past 2 years here. So Shalleck with Paul Gauze able to kind of control things in Group 1 play. And now it's kind of back to usual, if you will. Glassboro and Paulsboro once again facing off. Into the secondary, Mears again with a huge gain. And Mears picking up quite a few yards today. Let's take a look at the run from Mears.
Yeah, this time he's going to get the ball in the little guy's hands, let him scoot through, find some holes, and yeah, this is what he does well, is he shakes and bakes and gets those extra couple of yards. And so far, Paulsboro is doing a nice job, Rob, but just blocking up front, just manning up and going straight ahead against the guys and pushing them off the ball.
41 yards today for Mears already in this first quarter. And I don't think that's something that this Glassboro defense really thought was possible for a running back to pick up so many yards. And they haven't been big plays, Sean. They've been consistent 5, 6, 7, 8 yard runs.
Well, that time Longley for Glassboro is going to do a nice job. Chris Longley, who's a junior, 6 foot 214 defensive tackle, is going to shoot through and get a hold of the ball carrier. And they're going to need these guys in the interior of that defensive line to get some type of a push, stand the guys up and push them into the backfield, disrupt the play.
Formation, Silvestro in motion, Giordano. 2 receivers split. Giordano pitches, and again it's Mears. Mears into the secondary, across midfield. Mears shoved out of bounds. Big first down for the Red Raiders.
Greeted by a host of Red Raiders on the sideline, and a nice job of blocking downfield by Silvestro and Sharper. And this is just a terrific option play. Hold the ball as long as possible, shoot it out, and then downfield block. And you're going to see Silvestro come into your picture right there. Get the block on the linebacker, on Shamar Gaines, and that brings them for some extra yardage, and that's what you need. The big guys to get downfield and give you those extra big yards so they can get a big play out of their offense.
Big punishing run by Hamilton. And again, you get the sense that Paulsboro are really feeling confident here this afternoon. Mears has been a big addition here to the lineup after the loss of DeAndre Folks earlier in the season. He had that 20-yard run, and then they switch things up and go to Hamilton.
Well, after last week, Rob, you know, you'd seen from West Deptford that Paulsboro, you wondered, did they really come to show in that game, knowing that this game's coming up? But this is where that pride factor comes in. You can see guys running over each other, leaving it all out on the field. And the offensive and defensive lines are doing much better for the Red Raiders.
This is a critical third down for Paulsboro. Again, at the 35-yard line, it'll be interesting to see if Giordano goes back and throws the ball. Clock continues to tick as we approach the 1-minute mark. And again, we mentioned before that this wind is very strong. And if Paulsboro's apt to go to the air, it may be here when they still have the wind to their back. If they do not make it, then of course it's decision time. But an I formation here for Giordano, and the handoff met in the backfield. A big play defensively for Glassboro, and Paulsboro likely forced a punt here.
Well, if there's a go-to guy on defense for Glassboro, it's certainly George Johnson. Watch him just swallow the ball carrier here. He's going to fight off his block, and then he's just met right there, right in the back in the right in the backfield, and he's just, he's just a monster. 6'5", coming off that end with his strength and speed. Virginia's got to be happy to get a good one in George Johnson.
Nice punt by Silvestro, and Shamar Gaines thought better of it as he was 5 yards deep in his end zone. Had ideas on fielding that punt. So 15 seconds remain in this first quarter, and we are scoreless.
Paulsboro had a tough guy coming in the rush last week with Zach Smith, who had a pretty good game for West Deptford in the Thanksgiving rivalry. And they faced a similar competition this week in George Johnson. And you really need to not only get the one guy on him, the tackle, but you also need somebody to come up and kind of chip him and not allow him to get to the backfield. As you can see, he's already made 2 plays in the backfield. He can really stymie a drive.
High formation for Haggerty and the Dogs. This is likely the last play of this quarter. I'll hand off to Rose, and this Paulsboro line is having none of it today. Coleman on the stop, and again the clock will tick down to 0 through 1 quarter of play. It's been a defensive battle. We're scoreless here at Paulsboro. Start of the second quarter, Haggerty is sacked and slung down by big Alex Silvestro.
Well, we've seen George Johnson from the opposite side come in and disrupt the play in the backfield for Glassboro. This time, Silvestro coming off the edge, as good as anybody in South Jersey, of using those feet, getting his hands up into the chest of the tackle, blowing him off the ball, either using speed or a bull rush, and that time he's able to get to the quarterback and throw him back for a huge loss.
Third down. 19. Now Glassboro hustles to get someone on the field in motion all the way from the far sideline. You don't see that every day. And now someone's going to call timeout.
White.
So Glassboro calls timeout here.
That's that trick play where you send somebody in from the sideline right before the play's going to go on.
Yeah, I thought that was great because he came sprinting off the far sideline and then went around like he was in motion. You don't see that too often.
Well, there's been some new rules this year, and I think
That's
we're
not
in a
one
game.
of them.
That's not one of them. But there is a rule right now where you can kind of have a guy hide off to the sideline, and if he's within 5 yards of the sideline,
It's typically the numbers.
Yeah, it's inside the numbers. Well, it depends on where the numbers are. But typically, inside the numbers. If you keep them inside the numbers, you can trick somebody there and have somebody wide open on a play. And that did work earlier in the season, I believe, in a Group 4 game. And Dan Pidcock, we saw him at halftime. He was asking me, he said, well, I've seen that play. I seen where they, so what is the rule for that? And, some guys are going to try to use that to their advantage, maybe trick others. That play wasn't. They just said, hey, guys, somebody's got to get out there.
So third down now for the Bulldogs. Again, here they have the wind to their back. And they'll play it safe and hand off to Rose.
Wow, he's bent back. He gets up, but he's bent back that time.
Well, this Glassboro offense has gone nowhere today.
Now, coming into the game, Robin, I know I said this a lot, was maybe the one spot that Paulsboro had the advantage with special teams. And this is a really important part of this game. I know Paulsboro works extremely hard on its special teams, and they're going to need a nice punt here to be able to back them out of this.
And it's blocked, partially blocked. And this will go out of bounds at about the 33-yard line. So special teams play certainly a factor as mentioned. You know, that punt, their punt setup, look how shallow he is set up here, only about 7 or 8 yards, and that allows the surge of this Paulsboro team and the deflection of the punt.
Well, we've seen it from, I think it was Tony Giles a few years back, coming in and making a big impact on special teams, and that time again, Paulsboro making an impact in special teams and now giving them a great opportunity to get on the scoreboard first.
2 receivers split wide left. Sharper the outside man. Giordano has I formation, Hamilton and Mears. They'll go to the short man, that's Hamilton, and he may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage.
Then he was met by Darrell Rhodes. 5'9", 170, the senior's gonna come up, and that is a perfect form tackle. This is what you need. After a big play, you need to stop defensively and kind of get your defense fired up. And watch this tackle here by Rhodes. Comes up, excuse me, that wasn't Rhodes. Comes up and makes a stick, wraps him up, and that's Kevin Cunningham, the punter, after he just got the punt blocked. He's able to come up and make a stick.
2nd down. Giordano pitches, and a nice play by Mears, and he is taken by the jersey and just stopped in his tracks.
That was Darrell Rhodes. I was a little ahead of myself, that's all.
Impression.
That's all. Watch how Giordano goes down here. He just doesn't want to make sure he gets that, injures that leg. And watch Rhodes come from the backside. I talked about his strength a couple of games ago.
It was like Velcro.
And he is just improved, just mature and physically. We've seen his great speed, and he was injured last season. He just wasn't able to get on track and use that speed of his. And now he's combined that speed with the power that he's gained from the offseason. He's really turned into a complete back.
So again, a key 3rd down. Giordano getting some pressure, and there's going to be a hold here. He throws it up, picked off, and now returned down the sideline. A big turnover here once again as Paulsboro continues to generate some offense, but shoots themselves in the foot.
This is going to be a hold right in the middle. You're going to get a big pass rush right up the gut from Glassboro. That time it looked like that was Matthew C's 6-foot senior being held
Holding against red,
comes up.
decline, 1st down white.
Gaines is able to come into the play, get the pick off, and now Glassboro an opportunity.
So 2 turnovers now for Paulsboro deep in Glassboro territory. That ball picked off at the 20-yard line, a 20-yard return. And again, Glassboro kind of with the rope-a-dope continuing to get pounded and yet still able to keep this a scoreless ball game. Haggerty throws it quickly over to Johnson, and that's a very, very dangerous pass.
Yeah, that's funny because the other George Johnson from Paulsboro staring the big fella down as he comes back, a linebacker, George Johnson. He's got some good size as well, maybe not as big as the other one, but he's 6'1", 215 for Paulsboro. He'll line up sometimes at tight end, also at receiver, and he's a linebacker here for the Red Raiders.
Both big Johnsons facing off against one another. Haggerty will hand off, and a pickup of about 3.
Yeah, this is the first time that the Bulldogs have got a decent field position, and they really need to try to establish something offensively. They haven't been able to get anything going. They're trying to run it up the middle, and Paulsboro's interior line is doing a great job at just stuffing everything. And I talked about Demetrius Hester in the middle of that line, and we could see how good he is in this game. This is a guy that comes in as one of the top defensive players, and he just erases anything that you want to do up the middle.
Again, a key 3rd down for Glassboro. They've generated very little offense. Haggerty throws it up, overthrown, tipped, and falls. Again, Glassboro unable to move the football and narrowly escaping a turnover. This will result again in a punt.
Yeah, that's how you create the senior. 5'11", 190 is going to get his hands on the ball. And this offense is not doing the things they did throughout the season, and that's being able to run get big plays in its passing game. And you got to give credit a lot to the Paulsboro defense.
Now, I tell you, before the game, if you were to tell me that Glassboro would not have any first downs with just, 7:54 here in the second quarter.
I think I did tell you that.
A nice punt again, and a big bounce, and Sharper will field this back at the 10, and he fumbles the football, but it goes out of bounds. And right now, Paulsboro.
Well, the last couple times, you probably think, why isn't he fielding punts over here? And this time he does able to get it. And maybe that's why, because he hits the ball poked out of his hand that would have set up, actually Glassboro now's defense to kind of sit in that zone and maybe make some plays up front. But now Glassboro, this is where they can get some good field position, but they have to do it defensively. Now, Paulsboro was put in this position earlier in the game, Rob, and they did a good job of getting just a couple of first downs.
But one reminder here, they're against the wind here, so that really kind of makes Paulsboro sit on that run. And Mears still on his feet. Look at that effort by Mears. A tremendous individual effort. And you notice that Glassboro also tackling the football. So they're looking to create a turnover here deep in Paulsboro territory. But that's the type of effort that is very characteristic of a Paulsboro back. Just refusing to go down, and as a result, very close to a first down.
They're going to go for a measurement here. One of the things that Glassboro has done good this year is they've been able to get to the football in a hurry. Them linebackers are as speedy as just about anybody. They'll branch out, and, if they're just going sideline to sideline, it's very difficult against this team. And the other thing is they're sure tackling. They've been able to tackle first down for Paulsboro here. They've been able to tackle everyone. I mean, they haven't allowed anybody, really any big plays because of their tackling. So far today, they're not tackling well. We're seeing Paulsboro guys run over the Bulldog defenders. And that's just something where you got to kind of man up, wrap up, and make sure that you just kind of equalize what Paulsboro is coming out here to do. And they're just playing at a higher level right now physically with the Bulldogs.
Do not underestimate that run. A huge effort, and really allows them some breathing room from deep in their own territory. You talk about wrapping up and so on. When you have a big punishing runner like Siobhan Mears, coupled with this cold weather, it really makes it tough to bring him down just one man. And again, that's a situation where Glassboro is going to have to do a better job of not only wrapping, but also gang tackling.
All right, Mears isn't big. This is a guy, I believe he's only like 5'9", about 170. But he runs hard. He's got that low center of gravity, and he keeps his legs moving. And that makes him bigger than what he is. He's just going to punish guys. When you try to get low, you make sure you get lower than he is, because he's like a little bowling ball. You see Herb Neely.
And again, another fumble here. And between Paulsboro dropping footballs and Glassboro unable to generate offense, well, no surprise that we're scoreless.
Okay, we're going to see if this ball doesn't get tipped. Giordano under center. Pulls that ball back and not able to get it out. Nice job that time by the Glassboro defender to come up. Maybe get his hand on the ball. Now again, forcing Paulsboro in a long situation on third down.
I don't think they're going to throw the football here, but once again, I'm wrong. Giordano will set up a safe play in the screen, and they'll find a fumble. Ball's on the turf, picked up, and no ruling on the field.
I think they're calling this ink. Now they're going to call him down. This is one of them screens. They're just going to try to set up a little rocket screen, get the receiver coming back. Glassboro reads this thing very well, and they're able to get it in Silvestro's hand. He is leveled. Just jarring the ball loose from Silvestro. Looked like that was Longley again, along with Matthew Seas.
Silvestro, a high punt, bounces, and Rhodes will allow it to bounce all the way back to the 37-yard line. So both of these teams have had trouble fielding punts, and it's resulted in additional 15 and 20 yards and no return for each team. You have to think Paulsboro starting off back at their 9, forcing Glassboro all the way back inside of their 40-yard line. Feels pretty good about that series.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a situation in a spot where, this team doesn't have a terrific gain that's going to go through the air, and then you add the 22-mile-an-hour gust that you're talking about, and that's very difficult to throw the ball downfield. And now Glassboro starting, you know, they played well defensively. They just need to try and make a turnover here and force Glassboro from making a mistake.
Haggerty throws, and wow, no penalty called on this one. I tell you what, Paulsboro got away with one. Look at this play, Sean. Shamar Gaines was grabbed before the ball came.
And this is one of them same type of screens there. Ball's put in, and good call with the left hand, Rob. Could have been called on Paulsboro, wasn't called that time. Gaines not able to come up with that. He's got good hands. He should be able to come up with that ball.
Well, that's
I don't think he would have gone anywhere anyway.
He already had a player draped around him, and that certainly created some difficulty for Gaines. But a second down, and again, that inside pass, very dangerous, particularly when you're getting the penetration from the Red Raiders. Again, a fumble. It's on the turf. Paulsboro football. Glassboro's first turnover, and the Red Raiders are in great field position. Let's take a look here as it looked like Gataski.
Yeah, Gataski's going to force the pitch and then jump on the football. Terrific defensive play by him. They try to go to the short side of the field. Doesn't look like they were going to get many yards out of that play anyway. But that, you know, it just seems like a lack of concentration, Rob. And just, again, those fingers not working in the cold weather. Very difficult, again, to get those things loose and moving early on. You just got to wonder, where's Lester Haynes when you need him? Because they need a little stick-em out there. This is certainly a game where you're going to need to secure that football.
Mears into the secondary, still on his feet. Finally brought down, but not before picking up a first down and a huge gain. Mears continues to roll here.
Well, this kid is running hard again. He's only like 5'9". You can see him next to some of his teammates. He's not very big, but he is just running extremely hard downfield. You can see arm tackles by Glassboro. They're just not coming up making the hits. And if Herb Nealio's got to bring his team in during halftime and say, listen, you have to come up and wrap up. These arm tackles are not going to work against Paulsboro.
First and 10. Deep penetration for the Red Raiders, and Mears into the secondary again. Cut down, but right now, some big holes opening up, but a late penalty flag here. So a very late flag, and this is going against Paulsboro.
This is one of them things that this is a team that came in with a lot of different shifts and different formations. Get the call now from referee.
Illegal participation, 12 men on the field against the offense. It's a 15-yard penalty.
Now that's a big penalty. Remember, in the pros, that's a 5-yard penalty. In high school football, that's a 15-yarder. And again, Paulsboro just seemingly shooting themselves in the foot here.
Well, what a penalty that is. 15 yards. 15 yards and we're taking your cleats. Just for the illegal participation. So that 12th man really cost him and backs them out. That's a huge penalty for Paulsboro.
Split wide left, Mitchell. And again, they're going to run it right up the gut. And a pickup of about 5. So Hamilton on the carry, second down and still very long. We'll call it 21.
And one of the things that Paulsboro did well in this week of practice was the short passing game, getting those slants and being able to connect there. And Giordano, toward the end of the week, was doing a real nice job with that. That's something they practiced a lot because of the wind. They knew the situation and the weather, and they practiced real hard with that yesterday. A lot of different shifting for Paulsboro tonight.
Giordano, the pitch, and it's Mears. Mears, and a big hit laid out. It looks like he may have run into his own man.
Yeah, I think you're right. He ran into Anthony Pierce, a junior for Paulsboro.
No, it was actually Saeed Crete.
All right, maybe it was Saeed Crete. Either way, regardless, he ran into his own guy this time. They go with the pitch, force him to pitch, get him to the outside, and then he runs into a couple guys, including his own man.
Well, this is a big play here. You got to believe this is 4-down territory because kicking into the wind, a field goal will be tough. But first, Paulsboro calls a timeout. 3:22 left remaining in this first half. South Jersey Group 1 championship final at Paulsboro High School, scoreless. Welcome back. Third down, I formation. Giordano back to pass, throws it, and it's caught. Shane Mitchell, the recipient of Giordano's spiral, and that'll bring up a 4th down, spotted at about the 19, and this is probably outside of Sebastiani's range given the wind.
Yeah, you're right, given the wind. We've seen he's able to have a big leg and he can boot it through, but this is a tough spot with that wind. And they're just going to go to Shane Mitchell. Shane Mitchell was just named to the first team All-County Defensive Player of the Year, but you can see he has good hands, and Giordano is going to put the ball right on him at the sideline. They're going for it.
3 receivers, Silvestro and Sharper split left. Giordano back to pass, getting a rush, flushed out of the pocket. Will have a holding penalty here, and he will not pick up the first down. This penalty will go against Paulsboro, but of course Glassboro will decline it, and Glassboro once again survives.
And he didn't have anybody open. Nice job downfield by Glassboro in coverage. Just Paulsboro not able to move the ball through the air.
Holding against the offense, decline, ball's turned over on downs, first down White.
They might need to look against that short passing game to get the balls in the hands of some of the playmakers, including Daniel Sharper. He hasn't been really active in the offensive scheme for Paulsboro yet today, but it's a guy that you really want to try to get untracked and loose into that Glassboro secondary.
First down and 10 for Glassboro. Again, inside handoff, and the penalty flag goes down. And the referee pulled the flag out of his pocket. He wasn't sure whether he got it or not, but this may be the first penalty going against Glassboro. And I think it is a hold. So they will back up the Bulldogs deeper in their own territory. And Sean, this is a critical series here for Glassboro because to this point we have 3 minutes remaining in the first half. They have yet to earn a first down, and they critically need a first down here.
Against the offense, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Just to ensure that they can go to the half essentially scoreless, because if they're forced to punt, Paulsboro likely will have excellent field position.
Well, you know what they're probably going to do here with 3 minutes and counting? They'll probably go to a really vanilla offense and maybe milk that clock, not allowing Paulsboro to get enough time on the clock to move downfield and be happy to go into halftime 0-0.
Haggerty will hand off, and a big pickup here, still on his feet into the secondary, all the way down across midfield to the 40, 30, touchdown! "90-yard touchdown run for the Bulldogs."
And, you know, I talked about trying to run out the clock. We saw this on this field with Woodbury earlier in the year, where coming down to the end of the half, and just nice job of staying on his feet, is able to get through the defense. And then there's a host of Bulldogs downfield to pick up a couple of blocks and spring them to the end zone for a 90-yarder. And that really hurts for Paulsboro. When you have them backed up, you're trying to push them back and make sure that you're going to get good field position again. And to let them get through, I mean, that's just a real moral victory, obviously, for Glassboro. But just, you know, when you go into the halftime, you're thinking you're going to be deadlocked at 0-0. That's Demetrius Gadsden. And he's been a guy this year who's been that secondary guy for Glassboro. You know, they knew what they were going to be getting with Darrell Rhodes, but Gadsden's been the guy that's really lifted this team among the best in South Jersey, definitely in Group 1, and among some of the smaller schools in South Jersey. You got to talk, this team could probably compete with anybody in Group 2 as well.
You know what that run reminds me of, Sean, is when we did the game here earlier against Woodbury, when it looked like the half was going to be over, and then all of a sudden Paulsboro breaks a big one and the game is over. Now, certainly this game is no way from being over, but you know, when you go into the locker room certainly expecting to either be on top or tied at worst, and to now look at a team that still has no first downs in theory, and they're winning 7-0, that's heartbreaking.
Well, you look at what Paulsboro's been able to do so far. You know, you got to give the edge to the Red Raiders for sure of what they've been able to do with Mears offensively, moving the football, what they've been doing with the interior of their line. They've been blocking well, they've been tackling well, and they give up one big play. But that's what you knew coming into this game. Glassboro was a big play team. Paulsboro was going to have to move the ball downfield, didn't have that big play weapon with Folks, and now Glassboro is just able to use that one big play to get onto the scoreboard. Paulsboro just has to respond.
Mears falls, touches the football, back at the 5. Mears still on his feet and punishing running, going forward. A big hit laid out, but Mears able to get close to the 20-yard line.
We just got to gather the troops here. Still plenty of time. And just say, listen, we have the heart rate now. Mears is running like a madman. I mean, he's just trying to power and go through everybody. And this guy, again, he's only 5'9", but he's just trying to punish Glassboro. Look at these guys just bouncing off.
Well, Gadsden again lays out a big hit. And I think he was hurt after, I tell you what, a couple of plays there for Gadsden. Big run, and then a big hit, and really nullifies Paulsboro's #1 weapon. So as a result, Paulsboro now will have Rashard Braxton, the sophomore, come in to spell Mears. And it'll be Braxton with the football. And that's one of the things you have to like about Glenn Howard. He's not afraid to use everybody on his bench and get them immediately involved.
Well, you know what? If I'm Paulsboro's team right now and I see what Mears is doing, I got to come out and be playing at 150. I mean, this guy is giving everything that he has, and some of these big players for that Paulsboro line has to see that and really get inspired by his play so far in the first half. Paulsboro's not out of this game. They just let up a big play, but they've been really outworking Glassboro so far in this game. They just have to stick to the game plan and continue to run hard downfield.
Giordano hands off again, and Paulsboro able to hold Braxton to about 4, so 3rd down and 4. And the timeout is called here by Glassboro, so they're expecting some work by their defense will result in, again, a possession and perhaps good field position. Remember, Glassboro with the wind to their back during this second quarter.
There's still plenty of time for Glassboro, and this is a tough decision now for Glenn Howard in this offense, is whether we go through the air, try to get a quick slant, or try to get something through the air. 5 yards is all they need. Or do they go to the ground?
You know, championship teams are typically made up of some stars, but you always need a player to come up in a big situation, and it typically has to be someone that's not necessarily in the mix. And you think about Glassboro, we talked about Haggerty at the top. Of course, George Johnson, arguably the most talented player on that team, and Darrell Rhodes has probably been their biggest offensive weapon. But here, Gadsden has stepped up, made a big 90-yard run and a key defensive stop on the special teams. And again, that's typically what a championship team needs in critical situations. Hamilton, the ball carrier, and a big run by Hamilton, and that'll pick up a 1st down, and that will allow Paulsboro to maintain possession and continue to move the football here with 84 seconds remaining.
You're right. I talked to Herb earlier in the beginning of the year, and I said, who's the guy that probably given you the most progress so far? And he thought Gadsden was the guy. He thought he improved dramatically through the offseason. And again, giving you that second guy behind Rhodes who can give you a different look, a different game. This is another guy who can play a little power football. He's a defensive end.
And again, it's Braxton on the carry. He'll pick up about 4. Now, again, we're under a minute here. Paulsboro with 7 first downs this afternoon, Sean. Glassboro with 0, and yet the score is the exact opposite of those numbers.
And because of what everyone thought, Glassboro coming in with the bigger playmakers on offense, and that's come to fruition here so far in the first half. Just the one big play is all you need here in the South Jersey title game, where every play counts.
Dual receivers split left, Giordano, and again, very little there. And I think Paulsboro is content to allow this clock to evaporate, go back to the locker room and try to regroup.
Well, we've said that a couple times this year, and then somebody breaks off a 60-yarder. So they still have 13 seconds on the clock, and you're right, they're just going to be content to go into halftime, trailing 7-0.
Well, Paulsboro will go to the locker room with some air of confidence, knowing that they can move the football. They played very well defensively. Offensively, they've stumbled with a few turnovers. Glassboro, conversely, really struggled offensively, but it was one big play from Demetrius Gadsden that has been the difference here. We're through one half. The Glassboro Bulldogs on top of the Paulsboro Red Raiders in the South Jersey Group 1 championship game, 7-0. Welcome back. Start of the second half, and Glassboro will return this punt, taking the ball at the 9, dancing, gains, and brought down at the 40-yard line.
Gaines with a nice run as he's able to get to the outside. Yeah, that's one of the things. He's very explosive, Rob. He's going to get to the outside here. You can see this guy's got great speed. Going to cut it back to the right here. That's where he just makes one man miss. We've seen this from Glassboro with a couple of guys missing on tackles. This time you're going to get about 3 or 4 guys who are not going to come up and make the play when they have the opportunity to make the tackle. And that's one of the things that Paulsboro has done real well in the first half of wrapping up.
Rhodes on the carry, and he'll pick up about 4.
They had one play, Rob, where they missed a couple of tackles, and that resulted in Gadsden's 90-yard scamper and for the only score of this game. There you see Darrell Rhodes. This is a guy who has been focused since last year. Kid with great speed, is on the track team, was banged up a little bit last season with the injury.
We talked at the top about this being a defensive struggle. What better indicator? Glassboro scored on a 90-yard touchdown run. Their total rushing yards were 88. And a fumble, and it's Paulsboro. Paulsboro will come up with excellent field position here off of the Glassboro turnover.
And Glassboro just seemed bewildered by that call. They didn't know what was going on. But Paulsboro is just going to make its own opportunity here. Gadsden's going to get the ball, the touchdown maker in the first half. He's going to try to go off the left end, and Paulsboro just tackling the football. They've been able to get a couple of turnovers in the first half, but we're not able to capitalize. And this is important for them to try and strike quickly with the wind at its back.
Silvestro in motion. Sharper split left. Giordano will hand to Braxton, and Braxton will run to the 50-yard line. And what that tells me, Sean, is the injury to Mears is serious.
Well, he's coming back in.
And there's Mears.
But like you said earlier, and this is one thing that I think Glenn Howard always does a good job year in and year out, is getting a lot of guys involved. And this just keeps fresh legs. It gives guys the opportunity to say, listen, coach might put me in, so I need to get ready for the football game. I got to be ready for the year. I need to work out and to prepare like I'm going to be starting.
High formation for Giordano and the Red Raiders. And they will hand off to Mears, and Mears is met after a pickup of about 1. So a third down once again here for the Red Raiders as they cross midfield.
Glassboro just closes so quickly. Again, those linebackers, they're not the biggest guys, they're not the strongest guys, but boy, do they close in a hurry, and they're technically sound. They really wrap up well. Today, they haven't wrapped up so well, and that's one of the concerns, I guess, coming out of the locker room for Herb Nealio is my team needs to wrap up better and make plays defensively.
Giordano back to pass, looking for Silvestro. And it's thrown underneath, and Sharper picks it up. They'll be very close to the first down, depending on the spot.
But Sharper does a nice job here. One of the things he doesn't do is he needs to know exactly where that first down yardage is. And all he needed to do was kind of fling himself upfield, and he would have been able to pick up the first down. He's trying to look for the big play, and I understand he is their big play guy. But they need him to be able to pick up that first down and keep the chains moving. This is a spot here. You see him real quick, short pass by Giordano. One of the things that they worked on during the last couple of days is that quick pass. They're just going to get it in the sharper's hands. And right here, he's trying to make a big play. And that's a time where maybe you want to cut upfield, Rob, and just make sure that you pick up the first down. Give yourself another set of downs to try and get one into the end zone.
And he's short by about half of a football, so 4th down and decision time for Glenn Howard. I think they're going to go for it. Glassboro will hustle out the big boys. Donald Davis, 6'3" sophomore, coming in to try to stack up that line. And again, last time Giordano took it for a brief sneak.
Kutaski trying to get the crowd involved, get everyone pumped up. They'll probably go right under center this time with Kyle Kostrava.
So 4th down. Giordano sneaks. And I'm not sure. That's going to be very close.
The spot, they're giving him a good spot, and I think he has it. Where that side judges, that's a first down.
That's one of those left foot spots. When you get the left foot spot, you get about 5 more inches. You get the right foot spot, then you get it. You're probably sure.
Now I think they got a great spot on that play, but they'll take it. Right now, Paulsboro with the wind sort of at its back. They need to try and generate some type of offense here. Glenn Howard that time, love the call. You just go shortest point. Get behind the center. Allow Giordano to just pump those legs and pick up the first down.
Again, hand off to Hamilton. Pick up 1 or 2 yards as he's tripped up almost immediately. 2nd down, we'll call it a long 8.
Matt Sears on the tackle that time. He is the cousin of Kyle Kostrava. So a couple of cousins making some plays early on in this 3rd quarter.
Giordano on the pitch, and it's on the air, popped up, and Darrell Rhodes catches it out of midair all the way for a touchdown. This game gets crazier by the minute.
What a tough break, 58 yards through the air. Darrell Rhodes just going to pick that pitch. Mishandled by the Paulsboro back and just take it 58 yards for the score. Talking about mistakes, and again, just the hands, not concentrating. That time Mears doesn't look the ball into his hands. It is tipped up, and Darrell Rhodes with the terrific speed able to pick that ball out of air.
I'm not sure.
And another big play for the Bulldogs.
I'm not sure you can completely blame Mears on that play. That's a pitch all the way up at his face, and Giordano put a lot on that. That's a very difficult play. And Rhodes' hit is good. And Glassboro now on top, 14-0. Again, this has been an absolutely crazy game. Gadsden with a 90-yard touchdown run when it looked like they were just going to try to eat up some clock, and now when Paulsboro is moving the football, excellent field position, and they turn it around on defense. 0 first downs for Glassboro, and yet a 14-point lead. Wow.
Well, you got to know that what Paulsboro's coming in doing in this game is they know the speed on the Glassboro defense, and they need to be able to move the football in a hurry. They need to make quick decisions, and that means quick pitches also, Rob. What they want to do is get it in the ball carrier's hands quick enough to not allow that Glassboro speedy defense to react. And with that, you can have some problems, and we just saw it there. Getting that ball out in a hurry, you're going to get it in the ball carrier's hands quickly enough for him to move upfield and not allow that defense to react. But you have that problem where if you get it out there too quick, that ball is elevated a little bit, and it ricochets off the hands of Mears and right into the hands of Darrell Rhodes. Now, Paulsboro going to have to seriously get some big chunks of yardage either through the air or in that ground game.
Sharper takes it at the 14-yard line. He'll angle towards the near sideline, tripped up at the 20. So very little off of the kick from Rhodes. And once again, Paulsboro, it's almost like Sisyphus. They just continue to move the football, and it rolls right back at them.
Yeah, just like the old Sisyphus.
Not familiar with Sisyphus?
No, it's like one of them Greek things with like.
That's correct.
It was like a dragon with one of the 4 or 5
the
heads.
myth of Sisyphus, the idea is that he was penalized.
Yeah, you don't even know what it is.
And for eternity, he would roll the rock up the hill, and then the rock would continue to roll down, and then he would have to roll the rock up the hill again. It was just to continue through eternity. And that's kind of what's going on with Paulsboro. They continue to move the football and start right back to where they began. I'll tell you what, if you want
something else.
If you want, Sean, I do tutor.
Well,
I can. Welcome back. Welcome back to Paulsboro High School. Sorry about those technical difficulties. Whenever you bring up the Greek gods, Sean, you know you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, just one last point on that. I sound like Sisyphus was a doofus when he would roll the rock back and then come back down. I would just leave the rock down at the bottom. Like enough of that. So just leave the rock can stay right down here at the bottom of the hill.
And I'll tell you what, we'll do some reading together later. And I'll give you all the intricacies.
Tell you what, I'll meet
Maybe
you
I can have the literature show on Channel 5. We'll do some reading every week. What do you think?
You and Sisyphus. I'm not showing.
I know what you're saying. Reading.
Well,
what's reading?
We got a 3rd and 9 situation here, and this is a big play for Paulsboro. They need to, again, try to establish some type of offense, and they need to be able to pick up big yards.
Giordano getting flushed out of the pocket, and now he will be sacked. This Glassboro defense steps up once again, and Paulsboro forced to punt.
Well, you had mentioned before halftime how much that touchdown really takes a lot out of the team. You've seen it here so far. But, Paulsboro goes into halftime 0-0. There's a lot more that you can do. Now down by 7, you need to be able to generate some type of offense. And really now Glassboro is able to really kick back and start coming after them and firing after the football, trying to make plays defensively. And you're going to see more sacks now. That's going to be very difficult for Paulsboro to be able to get that passing game going now.
Well, Paulsboro now starting to see that the breaks are not going their way. That punt, Rhodes tried to rush onto it and collect it as a fair catch. He allowed it to bounce, and it bounced in Glassboro's favor, giving the Bulldogs excellent field position here at the 40-yard line. Again, they have yet to earn a first down this afternoon. Haggerty hands off to Gadsden. And into the secondary. Gadsden still on his feet, and that'll be the first down of the afternoon for the Bulldogs.
And again, not doing it with Rhodes. It's Gadsden, the junior, who will probably see a lot more carries next year in Rhodes' absence, as he's going to be graduating from this team. But for Paulsboro now, you really have to try and tackle the football, and then not only just tackle it, Rob, but I think they really need to them old Buddy Ryan days when they used to pitch the ball around defensively and try to score on you. I think they really need to do that. Try to get something in the open field, and that's a tall task to be able to do against a very sound Glassboro team.
The pitch to Rhodes, and he is stopped. So Gadsden with 3 carries on the day, 1 a 90-yard touchdown run, 1 the first down of the game, and the other one was a fumble. So you know something's going to happen when Gadsden touches that football.
Again, this is a guy that's really improved through not only this year but into last year. To begin this season, this guy really worked hard during the offseason, hit the weights hard, and he really dedicated himself to this football team. And it was these type of guys that have put them in this position to try and win a South Jersey championship, the role players.
Haggerty hands off to Gadsden, and he's met by the Red Raiders' defensive front. And again, Sean here with inside of the 30-yard line for Glassboro. You got to believe this is 4-down territory. They simply do not have a field goal kicker, certainly with the wind in their face. And you got to look at it as 2 plays for 5 yards here.
All right, now I've brought up this point a couple of times. Is Darrell Rhodes is their place kicker, and as the game wears on, he wears down, and his ability to kick field goals are limited. toward the end of the game.
Haggerty play action pass, throws it up, and almost picked, and almost caromed into the hands of Shamar Gaines.
And that was the play they needed. They needed Sharper to pick. He would have had a lot of real estate in front of him, and they needed a play like that, not only to make a stop here, but try and do something defensively to really get this team going. And they need the open space. You know, Sharper's a terrific athlete, and if he catches this ball, he's going to have a lot of open space in front of him. They're going to just go here on this little fly pattern, and Sharper's able to come up and tip the ball. It almost redirected into the hands of Gaines.
He mistimed his jump there. Sharper, a first-team all-conference defensive player. We spoke at the top about his offensive prowess. Now a fourth down. Haggerty again, and he'll swing it out to Rhodes. Rhodes with some real estate, but he'll be cut down before picking up the first down. And again, that Paulsboro defense holds.
You're looking at 2 plays the difference in this game, but that's what Glassboro's been pretty much all season. They're going to hurt you with the big play. They have those type of athletes that are going to make a small play into a touchdown, and so far today they've made 2 of those.
4 minutes and 9 seconds left in this third quarter. Glassboro on top 14-0. If you're wondering why you don't see the score, we've had some difficulties with our graphics. As a result, we are graphic free today. Giordano's handoff, and very little gain. Both scores coming in a kind of a freakish way. A 90-yard touchdown run by Gadsden after really having negative yardage on the afternoon in terms of their running game. And again here in the third quarter, off of a carom or deflection from the pitch from Giordano to Mears, nestled into the arms of Darrell Rhodes, and in full sprint, he ran it in to make it 14-0. Second down, Giordano back to pass with a lot of time. Giordano still throws it up underneath, has a man, it's Crete.
That's a terrific pass. That's a timing pass coming back to the sideline. Crete's able to get a hold of the football, and that's a nice job by Giordano and the offensive line. That's the execution that you're going to need later in this game, as Glassboro is going to obviously try and rush that quarterback. But Giordano is just going to unleash a terrific pass to Crete that time. That's a terrific job.
A lot of good things going on there. That Paulsboro offensive line doing a tremendous job stopping the rush. You've got the Glassboro secondary really causing Giordano to wait forever, and he had to really needle that pass, thread the needle. And Hamilton, look at Hamilton go. Another first down for the Red Raiders. So Paulsboro continue to move the football, and yet they are scoreless.
Look at Hamilton here. He's just going to keep them legs moving. Watch as the guy comes on his back. That time it's Timothy Whitaker, the corner. He's only 5'7", $150, and he's just going to carry Whitaker on his back for about 4 or 5 yards. And, they've been able to do this pretty much all game, Rob, is move the football effectively and pick up first downs. But they need to continue the drive.
Mears trying to string it outside, and that stretch play just doesn't work. Silvestro and Johnson having their own battle, and I tell you, those are 2 warriors. Silvestro and Johnson, both Division I players, kind of having at it in the secondary.
Well, you know, usually with teams, you try to soften up the middle so you can get that outside game working. With Glassboro, they move so quickly to the ball on the outside that you really need to try and go to the outside so you can open up the middle. You know, this is where Paulsboro's been able to run the ball effectively, is between the tackles. And that's just because Glassboro gets to the outside so effectively, so quickly.
Mears the carry, about 2 or 3. Third down, 9, a long first down here for the Red Raiders. And Giordano has shown some prowess through the air. However, he does have 1 pass picked off this afternoon. Down to 90 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Sharper. Split left. Giordano. Deep drop. With time, Johnson flushes him out, throws it, almost picked off. And Darrell Rhodes almost had his second touchdown defensively.
Yeah, he read that all the way, and you're right. If he was able to grab a hold of this one, he was going in for a score. And this is, watch George Johnson. Watch George Johnson come here. Now, Giordano is going to be looking at him. Now he's limited to only that one side of the field because of Johnson's rush. And that's what a very good defensive end will do for you. That'll take the other side of the field and just negate it. Now you're stuck with just going to the one man. Rhodes comes up and reads it, nearly gets the pick.
Remember, Glassboro will have the wind at their back in that fourth quarter, and Silvestro's punt is excellent and down inside of the 5-yard line. What a great hustle play by Paulsboro's special teams unit.
Let's go! That is a terrific play. That's, I think, Mark Auger, number 66, and not listed in our roster. That's why Rob goes with the special teams unit. I like the recovery. But a nice hustle play, and he's been down on special teams. We've seen Auger a couple of times just get down there and hustle, and that's just a terrific effort. You're down by 14 points. You need a play. You need something to back up, and Auger does it for you, and those are the little things. And again, special teams. Paulsboro works on it so much. You can see the nice pump by Silvestro, and then Auger coming down with a big play.
Haggerty, quarterback sneak, and he just wants to get some breathing room as he moves it up to the 5-yard line. Second down, about 7. Inside of a minute now, and Glassboro will be content to allow the clock to elapse. They'll have one more play.
And Rob, that might not be a bad thing for Paulsboro. I'll let you know in a couple of minutes if Glassboro is not able to pick up the first down.
Maybe calling a timeout.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't call a timeout. They're not going to. Yeah, they're just going to be content to get that wind at their back. They got the 14-point lead. They don't want to make a mistake, and don't give Paul. What they want Paulsboro to do is. This is smart by Herb Nealio. This is a really smart move by him. He's saying, listen, our defense has not allowed 2 touchdowns all year. We don't want to give the defense to Paulsboro an opportunity to score by stripping the ball out. Let me just get it to my quarterback and allow him to make a couple of plays. We'll punt the ball away and let the defense take over.
Well, it comes down now to 1 quarter of play. Glassboro leads in the South Jersey Group 1 championship game from Paulsboro High School by 14. Back at Paulsboro High School, 3rd down, and that will be very close to a first down, and that would be a huge first down for the Bulldogs.
Well, yeah, it is close. They're going to have a measurement here.
Fisher, time for a measurement.
This is where you need a left footer if you're Glassboro.
Yeah, definitely
left foot measurement or spot.
Or if you're coming across the other side of the field, the right foot.
Right.
Depends on where you're coming. Either right, the right. Right, but if you're Paulsboro, you're just begging here for it to be 4th down.
First down, and again, how many big plays has Gadsden had today? A huge first down here, and Paulsboro off with a tremendous special teams play of Auger. Really hope to back up Glassboro and set themselves up for some excellent field position. Instead, Glassboro will maintain possession, one of the few first downs that they've had today. In fact, just their second. Gadsden again into the secondary, moves the football, turns it over again, the second time on the ground, and the Red Raiders are in the driver's seat here. Excellent field position for Paulsboro.
Well, they just caught it up here in the press boxes. Watch a fumble here, and Paulsboro just tackling the football. Gadsden has it wrapped up with both hands. But once he breaks in, right here, you're going to see, I think that was George Johnson from Paulsboro, the Paulsboro's version of George Johnson, the linebacker, come back and put a club onto the football, and Paulsboro now has to capitalize. They have one-on-one coverage right now with Sharper versus Whitaker.
And they're going to hand off inside to Hamilton. We've had so many turnovers this afternoon.
You know, one of the things I'd like to see from Giordano, and this is something that Sheldon Johnson of Deptford does so well, is the play fake. Once you give it into the fullback's hands, he kind of backs up. If you're able to sprint, I know he's got a bum wheel, but if you're able to sprint out to the outside, that's going to force them linebackers to kind of push over a little bit and not be able to converge on the ball carrier.
Silvestro in motion. The pitch. And a big, big hit laid out there. That was like a car accident.
Well, that time, Timothy Haggerty, quarterback for Glassboro, is going to come up and make a play defensively. He just blows that play up. Coming off the edge of the corner, is able to get into the backfield. And watch him here, come from the corner. Haggerty's going to be able to get in the backfield and force ball carrier Mears upfield. That puts him into the teeth of that Glassboro defense.
Officials call timeout. I think a player may be shaken up. And
I think
that's
it's Haggerty. He doesn't look too bad.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, he's a little upset because the referees call timeout. They force him to go to the sideline, which means they'll have to sit this play out. A critical play here, 3rd down, about 8 for the Red Raiders. Sharper split left to the wide side. Mitchell on the near side. Mears and Hamilton, your running backs. Giordano. Good protection across the middle, overthrown for Silvestro. A big target, and Silvestro really had to stretch out and could not come down with it.
And Shane Mitchell throwing his hands up in the in the end zone. He was open on that play. You're going to see number 10 down the bottom of your screen, and Giordano going to look immediately over the field to the big tight end Silvestro. Big target, not a bad pass. In the middle of 5 guys though. And Shane Mitchell, you see, all count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 there. Shane Mitchell trying to get to that outside. They're going to need to make a play here, though. They need to get that 1st down.
4th down. 2 receivers split left. Giordano looks, throws it towards the corner, and it's picked off. And Shamar Gaines comes away with it. The 2nd interception today of Giordano. And if anything, that works to Paulsboro's favor as it backs up Glassboro back to their 10-yard line.
And they just, when they need big plays, are not able to come up with it. And again, with the absence of Fulks and not having a guy who can give you a little bit of a worry of breaking one, that just really prohibits and limits what Paulsboro is able to do. This time he's just trying to throw it up, make a play. Maybe somebody's able to tip it or come down with it.
9:53 left in this one, and again, Glassboro goes to Rhodes. Rhodes still on his feet, dancing, moving, and finally brought down. Glassboro needing to get some breathing room back in their own end, but as importantly, wanting to continue to eat up clock.
And the way they play defensively, you know, right now, all Herb Mueller is asking for his team to do is get through the 3 downs, run some clock, and let us punt it and put the defense back on the field. He's not concerned at all putting in some offensive plays that he thinks are going to work to be able to move the football and go downfield in a hurry. He just wants to be able to move the ball, eat up the clock, and more importantly, hold on to the ball.
Haggerty will hand it off.
Go back to Gadsden here, and Gadsden's the guy who just had the fumble, so Neilio going back on the 2nd play since that fumble by Gadsden offensively, having a little bit of confidence in the young fellow, the junior. Again, he'll be the guy next year for Glassboro who will probably get a predominant number of carries, and they have a couple of good ones, a couple of young guys coming up, but Gadsden's going to be that senior.
3rd down for the Bulldogs. Now, they were able to come up with a critical 1st down on 3rd down last series. Of course, they then quickly turned it over. Haggerty with 1 running back is trying to draw them off sides, and he may have done that.
Well, I ain't too sure that one of his guys jumped. I think you look at number 5, Gaines. I think he might move on this play. Yep, Gaines going to try to get a little head start.
Still have the eagle eye. Not quick in the response department, but you still have the eagle eye.
Thanks, man.
False start, offense.
Something I picked up in New Mexico. I was looking for something. Why didn't I pick up this eagle eye?
You may want to get a prescription for that. 8:32 left. 4th quarter, 14-0. Glassboro on top. 3rd down and long. And it's Gadsden again. And he is really squeezing that football, not wanting to turn it over here. And Paulsboro's defense holds once again. You can't say enough, Sean, about the job that this defense has done today for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, they've really played well. They just had the one play, you know, the couple of missed tackles there, but yeah, they've hung in there. Just, again, 2 plays separate these teams from being scoreless right now, and that's the one from Gadsden, the long 90-yard scamper, and the defensive play by Rhodes. Little mishap in the backfield for Paulsboro, and they were able to capitalize for another 7.
5th punt today for the Bulldogs. They've had 1 deflected. Again, you see how shallow their punt setup is, and this one will be angled towards the near sideline, and a nice job here for the Bulldogs as they will back up Paulsboro to the 48-yard line, but still Paulsboro with excellent field position. 7:41 left, and Sean, there's still a lot of football to play here.
Yeah, and that's exactly the type of punt you want right there. Just get it off, get it out of bounds. You don't want Sharper to get the ball in the open field where he can make moves and generate a big play. You just put your defense out there, and you know, that's what this team's all about, is playing defense, not allowing teams to score. And I think he's saying, all right, I'm going to roll the dice with my defense now for the rest of this game.
Giordano's pass to Crete, and Crete to the 40-yard line. Good pickup, 2nd down now.
You can see he's got a nice, sharp, crisp pass when it comes to those short yardage passes. I mean, he really gets the ball out there, and he puts the ball in the numbers.
2nd and 2. Giordano again on the drop, throws it out, has Mitchell, 1st down. So they're going to try to soften up this Glassboro defense and maybe set up a run for Mears down the road.
Yeah, this is Glenn Howard knows this team's going to play deep and not allow them to get anything behind. So everything underneath you're going to be able to get. Shane Mitchell's just able to get about 5 or 6 yards downfield, turn around, and the ball's right there. You could probably get a couple more of those in.
Mitchell in double coverage on the near side. Giordano back to pass. Good protection. Throws it across the middle. Almost picked off, as I believe he intended to go to Sharper.
He was about 20 yards past where Sharper was. That ball really overshot him, and that's going into the wind, though, remember. You probably want to put a little more zip on it because of the wind, and he's just going to really overshoot this guy. Great protection by that offensive line. No Bulldogs in sight. Plenty of time. He's just going to fire it and overthrow his receiver, and almost picked off again by Gaines.
2nd and 10. And of course, what this does for Paulsboro, not only are they moving the football, but on incomplete passes, the clock stops. So they can have a longer drive here. Giordano flushed out of the pocket, throws across the middle, and unable to hook up with Silvestro.
Yeah, and this one I'm going to blame on Giordano. You know, you have your guy Hamilton out there. You got to have more than one read. You got to look and anticipate where the defense is going to be. Watch 32. This is Hamilton coming out of the backfield. He's open right there. Now he gets flushed out. Now you still got an opportunity to get him out the ball. There is no one around him. He's trying to get the big play downfield, and I know they want to try and get that quick strike, but you got to move the chains.
3rd down, 6:43 left. And Paulsboro's turned into a passing team all of a sudden. 2 running backs, Mears and Hamilton. Silvestro and Sharper split left. Giordano throws it up, has a man at Sharper. Complete, and a 1st down. A nice hookup between Giordano and Sharper. And now they're going to go into the 2-minute offense and not allow Glassboro's defense to react.
Well, I'm going to sound like a coach. You pump them up, you bring them back down, you're going to pump them back up again. This time, this is a terrific pass. This is right on the hands of Sharper into the wind.
Giordano now throws, hits Silvestro in the flat, and driven out of bounds. 6 for 10 on the afternoon for Giordano. 6:23, and maybe they have found the Achilles heel of Glassboro.
Well, Glassboro's just backing up. They don't want anything over the top. Everything underneath, force them to use the clock with 6 minutes and counting. They just want everything. They don't want any quick strike scores. They'll let them get everything underneath.
At the 15-yard line, I formation, quick drop, quarterback draw. Giordano into the secondary and inside the 10-yard line. First down for the Red Raiders.
Play calling on point for the Red Raiders. This time, designed call for Giordano to go upfield. Blocking up front is terrific by that line, including Ellis Hester, who's there to make a block. And Glassboro is going to call timeout here.
Fourth first down of this drive, and Paulsboro starting to get it together. I mentioned that there's still a lot of time to play in this football game. Paulsboro knocking on the door. Remember Glassboro's vaunted defense giving up a touchdown last week against Deptford, but shutouts prior to that. We'll be right back. 6:08 left. Paulsboro, Glassboro, Group 1, South Jersey Championship game. Welcome back to Paulsboro High School. Giordano back to pass. Has a man underneath, tipped, and it falls incomplete. So, goal to go here on first down. Again, they throw the football. Kind of expected them to maybe try to soften up Glassboro with a run, but Giordano continues to go to the air, falls incomplete. Second down, obviously 4-down territory.
Yeah, that play just took too long to develop. That time we kind of ran out of room. Hamilton trying to get down and the ball thrown a little bit behind him. But again, the Paulsboro's offensive line is doing a terrific job right now with giving him time.
Paulsboro faithful on their feet. Mears up the middle. Mears towards the goal line. Mears. Touchdown, Paulsboro. Paulsboro's right back in it. 14-6. Sebastiani on to attempt the point after. Mears capping a fine day, coming back after being injured and scoring that touchdown. 7 plays on the drive. Sebastiani kicks up. Good. 14-7 with 5:56 left. And again, Paulsboro now starting to once again recapture that confidence.
And what a terrific job by Giordano on that drive. He put some balls on the mouth patterns. Again, with the wind in his face a little bit, he was able to really move the ball downfield. And then Mears, you can't question this kid's heart today. This little guy has come out and played a heck of a game. Look at Mears staying up on his feet and driving Glassboro defenders into the end zone. What an effort by Mears today. And again, on that touchdown run. This is a huge spot now for Sebastiani. Dominic Antonini on the sideline, pointing that way, saying, boot it that way, son, as far as you possibly can get it. Paulsboro has done a terrific job defensively. If they could just keep him and hold him, they should be able to get the ball back with enough time. But Glassboro with its vanilla offense, and remember, Rob, it's hard to get back up. Once you kind of shut it down and you start, getting in some of them plays, it's hard to regain that. You've seen that at the line of scrimmage. Glassboro has kind of played back a little bit, and once you get in that prevent, you can really have some problems of getting the motor running again.
Mears 78 yards on the ground today with a touchdown. That, of course, a 7-yard run. And Sebastiani will kick it away. Darrell Rhodes is back at his 14-yard line. So,
how many times have we seen after a big play you have a letdown on a kickoff? Big play now for Paulsboro. Come on, make a stick.
Sebastiano angles it, and this will go all the way back to the end zone. And again, that's the weapon that Paulsboro has, their kicking game. Sebastiani allowing his defense to ensure good field position if they continue to play as they have this entire afternoon. 5:56 left. Glassboro on top, 14-7. Glassboro scoring one of their 2 touchdowns on defense, the other on a freakish 90-yard touchdown run from Gadsden. Haggerty with Gadsden and Darrell Rhodes in his backfield. And Rhodes, once again, with very, very little room to work. Second down.
See Rhodes, I guess more importantly, his coach telling him, hold on to that football. We've had too many mistakes with dropping balls on the ground and giving Paulsboro opportunity.
And Herb Nealio would like nothing better here than a prolonged drive that would eat up some of the 5:20 remaining in this football game. Haggerty again under center. And it's Gadsden. Maybe 2 yards.
Again, trying to go in the middle of that defense, and you're not going to be able to pick up huge gainers. And I'm surprised they're not using Haggerty's wheels. I mean, this is a guy who can also run effectively, Rob. He's a guy you can get that option, run, pass once he gets to the outside. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and use him here that way. We'll get him sprinting out, maybe having a one-on-one situation with either Gaines or also George Johnson.
4:40 left. Again, 3rd down and 6 for Haggerty and the Dogs. A quick pitch, and Rhodes makes a great catch, and he'll be stopped short of the 1st down, but that could have been a nightmarish turnover for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and that, you know what, that's a real tough call there, because you're putting a guy in a situation where the pitch here, it almost gets to the outside. They haven't done that a whole lot today. And you just don't want to get any turnovers. You just don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to give Paulsboro the opportunity. This is a great defense. And you want to force Paulsboro to drive on you. You remember, there hasn't been a team yet, except for Pennsgrove early in the season, that have scored more than 1 touchdown on this team.
And Haggerty over by the sidelines. They're going to call a timeout eventually, but they're first going to, actually a penalty flag here.
Holding gets the offense. 10-yard penalty, going to repeat 3rd down.
I'm a little surprised that they took that penalty. What this allows them to do is, of course, run another play. They didn't make the 1st down last time, and as importantly, the clock continues to run. So they're going to allow the clock to expire here. So they're going to take an additional 10 to 15 seconds, and now that Gadsden is stopped, it will allow the clock to go underneath the 4-minute mark.
That's okay because of that right there. This defense has played up to the task of its counterparts in Glassboro, and they've made plays all game long. Again, just the one mishap where they had a couple of missed tackles where Glassboro was able to run it downfield with Gadsden.
Well, right there, essentially what Paulsboro decided to do is take 10 yards in exchange for a timeout. And I think, we've seen so many games late in the going where a timeout is critical. Now, of course, we also know that Paulsboro is apt to strike quickly, but I think in the total scheme of things, I'd like to have my timeout. But there you see Glenn Howard, and I'll tell you what, Sean, if there's one coach that I'm not going to second guess, it's him.
Listen. You cannot, under any circumstances, hit the party. Realize if you can get it, go. If you can't get it, pull off. Don't even take a chance. We got to get the ball back. That's the most important thing, get the ball back. Let's go.
Real important call there by the coach. And that's what makes him so special. It's just reiterating to his guys, listen, you cannot make a mistake. We need the ball back. If you can get to the ball and block it, fine. But if you can't, pull off and don't get that 15-yard penalty and give Glassboro a 1st down.
Glassboro gets the punt away. It's high, it's short, and it goes out of bounds inside of the 40-yard line. Paulsboro, 4:05 left, excellent field position.
Nice job also by Ryan Ward, our guy down by the sideline, picking up that great audio by Coach Howard.
Well, again, what I see here is Coach Howard, again, illustrating why he's one of the top coaches in all of South Jersey. Just starting to mix it up on that previous drive, having Giordano go to the air and putting himself in a position to still win this football game. Best starting position of the afternoon here for the Red Raiders. Silvestro in motion and a penalty flag.
You know what? And Nealio's okay with this because Nealio's saying, listen, my defense has done it all year for me. I'm going to put it back on the field. Let them gang tackle. Let them do the things that they need to do, and maybe they even get a turnover. And they also got to play.
Dead ball foul, false start against the offense.
They're the ones that are up 7 by 7 points, so they don't need to play scared. They can go out there again.
That last play is a perfect example of why coaches have gray hair. I mean, you start a critical drive and you make a mental mistake, and you're forced to kind of overcome that. 4:05 left. First down and 15 now for the Red Raiders. Inside the Glassboro 44. Giordano, quick drop, pump fake, throws deep. Has Mitchell, and it falls incomplete. That ball could not have been caught in bounds.
Yeah, at that time it was a pump and go, and no one bit on there. Glassboro not going to go for the over-the-top call. They're going to let everything go underneath of them and try to make the hit once they, especially with the 1st and 15. They're going to allow them to get the underneath play and then come up and try to hit the ball carrier, maybe jar the ball loose. But again, wrap up and make sure that they pull the ball carrier down. They need to make the plays defensively by tackling, by sure tackling, not allow them to get deep and throw over the top of the defense.
2nd and 15. Mears with Hamilton. Giordano again, excellent protection now, breaks down. Giordano escapes, throws it up, and caught by Silvestro. Silvestro catches it between 3 Bulldogs and the Red Raiders, knocking on the door.
That time I think he wanted to go to Hamilton here. Number 32 is going to come out of the backfield, but a nice rush by George Johnson is going to force him back along the other sideline, and there he's able to find Silvestro, who gets behind the defense and just cradles that ball into his arm, setting up a 1st and 10. It looks like at about the 11 or 12.
3:47 left, I formation. Hamilton, Mears your deep back. Silvestro in motion. Hand off Mears. Mears, he'll pick up about 3.
3:30 and counting.
Giordano's had himself a very good second half. 6 for 13 and 79 yards through the air. 1 interception. 2nd and 7. Again, Hamilton with Mears in the eye. Sharper. And the pitch to Mears. Mears with a lot of room, and that's quickly stopped. A big tackle made by Glassboro's, I believe that's Bateman.
And they just, again, stretching the play out, but it allows those linebackers to come up and make the play. I mean, this just takes too long. They're getting a good push up front, and you'd like to see them go, again, between those tackles. Every time they try to go to the outside on that pitch, it's very difficult to make this play work against Glassboro.
3rd down and 5.
Remember, this is 4-down territory, so they could go to the ground game again.
And now there's some confusion, and Giordano wisely calls timeout here. And again, this is a situation, Sean, you have to call a timeout in that situation. This is just far too critical. And Glenn Howard comes out and he'll talk to his team, make sure that he gets the play that he needs called in this situation.
Right, and you don't mind it at this point. If I'm a Glassboro fan, I'm glad Glenn Howard's out in that huddle right now on a 3rd down in a very big play, because he's going to calm all these guys down and say, listen, let's do this, You got to block up front, you got to hit your man, and let's get it into the end zone.
You know, if you're Glassboro, you have to think that if they score a touchdown here, the odds are against you. They have been so impotent offensively today. And it really comes down to this series.
I know what you're saying, but this is a team, again, with still the big, quick strike players. And I know there isn't a whole lot of time left here in the 4th quarter, but right now you just got to man up and worry about it defensively. Paulsboro's made a couple of plays, and they're doing it through the air as well. But this is a good defense. And I got to think I'm going to cheat a little bit to the inside, because those speedy linebackers are going to get to the outside, and make sure you cover everything at the goal line. And that's basically what you're doing, is covering that goal line up. Paulsboro may try to run here in the middle of this defense, and you're going to need those defensive tackles to kind of shoot those gaps.
3rd down, 5 to go. Giordano, and he pitches. Mears towards the end zone, cut down before the end zone, but very, very close to a 1st down.
And they're going to stop and get a measurement here. Downfield blocking that time was George Johnson, taking out Haggerty in a nice block. And I love the turnaround. Watch this play with the quarterback here. The fake to the inside, turn around, spin, and then you get the defensive end Gadsden biting. And then Mears, there's George Johnson, number 24. Mears shooting himself upfield to try and get the first down.
George Johnson with a touchdown-saving tackle. And a huge spot here. First down. First and goal for the Red Raiders now. 2:15 left.
We talk about character and pride. This is a Paulsboro team after that touchdown by Rhodes, Rob. I know you and I were both thinking this. So this is going to be tough for Paulsboro to come back in the game. And here they're doing this again with the wind in its face. This is an impressive fourth quarter for Giordano.
Full house backfield. Giordano will hand off and a little mix-up in the backfield, but a touchdown! Through traffic, Hamilton scores the touchdown. 14-13, awaiting the extra point. Seven-play, 50-yard drive for the Red Raiders, and Sebastiani on to attempt the extra point to tie this game at 14.
Ralph Carr was able to shoot through, but a nice job taking him out of the play, and Paulsboro.
Sebastiano's kick is good, and we are knotted at 14 here at Paulsboro High School. Another classic on Channel 5.
AC Silvestro pumped up. Plenty of time, though. 2 minutes left. Paulsboro, again, after a big play, you have to come down and make a stop on this big play team.
Now you have to say that the pendulum has certainly swung in Paulsboro's favor. They have the home crowd. They have the momentum, and they have an excellent kicker.
Boy, what two great drives by Giordano. You got to give credit to this line, too. I mean, this all Paulsboro offensive line here has wore down the Bulldogs. Just wore them down. And you're right, you have to like the chances right now of Paulsboro for that fact. The fact that these big guys are starting to wear a little bit on these Glassboro.
Well, now Sebastiano will kick it away. Remember that Darrell Rhodes is certainly a weapon. Two men back to return for Glassboro. Last time Sebastiano's kick angled towards the corner, found its way into the end zone. This time Rhodes will take it at the 5. Setting up their wall, the Bulldogs. Rhodes trying to find a seam, and he is stopped. Darrell Rhodes just across the 20-yard line. Glassboro will have a long way to go with 106 seconds left in this fourth quarter.
Quick though for Hamilton, 48 yards and that touchdown. But you're right, man. This is a spot where they still have some time with a minute 46. You have Darrell Rhodes back there, and he's a big play guy.
Haggerty has thrown infrequently. And this Glassboro offense has struggled throughout the afternoon. First and 10 Bulldogs. Haggerty, quick drop, throws, and finds his man Johnson. Threads the needle, and Glassboro now moving the football, first down.
The clock stops as they move the chains. And what a target. I mean, this guy's 6'5" on a slant. And he just uses his body. He's also a basketball player, so he's going to kind of box out and use that big frame to block out the defender. And Haggerty, as you can see, he's got the wind to his back now.
Haggerty again to drop. He'll throw it up and caught! What a catch by Glassboro's Shamar Gaines, able to keep his feet in play.
You want aggression, you want us to get the momentum back for Emilio with this call. And this is guts. He's just going to get to the outside, and Gaines just going to get over top of the defender, pull it in, gets the foot, and that's all you need, 1 foot in bounds. He's able to get that foot down.
That's a great call by the referee to note that foot in bound. Haggerty, and you got to give credit to Neely, who's showing so much confidence in his quarterback. Haggerty, with time, throws it across the middle, cut down, but completing the pass to Thomas.
This is what Glassboro did defensively, is kind of sag back, doesn't allow anybody to get behind him. And you know that on the opposite side of the field, so you're going to call those short passes. That was a gutsy call, though, to go to Gaines on the sideline there, throwing it up.
I formation for Haggerty. Inside of a minute now. Haggerty getting flushed out of the pocket, throws it deep, looking for Gaines, and Gaines kind of running with his arms outstretched. If he goes out and gets it, then maybe he has an opportunity, but just kind of running with his arms out, and that's certainly...
Joel Thomas was open on the opposite side of the field, number 3, and he came back to the huddle kind of with the hands on top of his head as he was wide open on the opposite side of the field, but their time they're going to their go-to guy, Gaines.
Third down now for Glassboro, 51 seconds left. Haggerty again with protection and time, throws it and completes it. And that's a first down.
There's he completed, but he's out of bounds. Terrific job that time by Thomas. He comes back to the huddle and he says, look, I was wide open. That just gets it into the ear of Haggerty. He's now going to look for his teammate, Thomas, a sophomore. You have him listed at 1'5" or 5'9". He's a little bit bigger than that. He's grown over the course of these last 3 or 4 months.
Third first down of the drive. That's eclipsing their total number for the afternoon. Haggerty moving the football. He has Johnson and Thomas split right, Gaines split left. Quick drop, Thomas throws inside, has Gaines. Gaines tripped up by Mitchell, so a short gain for Glassboro. They'll call timeout with 33 seconds left in regulation.
Now remember, now Glassboro, their kicker is Darrell Rhodes, and again, he wears down as the game goes on, even though he may have his back to the wind. That time thrown a little bit behind the Gaines, but he's able to spin him back around and get that catch. And so far, Glassboro, they're not trying to sit on it, Rob. They don't want this thing to go into overtime.
So a short gain. Second down, 6 for Glassboro. Tied at 14 here. Fourth quarter. South Jersey Group 1 championship game. Both of these teams in the fourth quarter found a passing game.
I think maybe Haggerty more impressive because you haven't seen it all game long. All of a sudden he comes out throwing. You can see this kid's got a good arm and he is precise with his passes.
Glassboro lines up here. Haggerty again. Silvestro with pressure. Out of the pocket. He throws. Caught! What a throw by Haggerty. This kid has really illustrated a huge heart today.
So, I think he's nuts over here. He's going to throw the pass to the end. You think he's well covered. But watch his zip right here on this pass. Little flick right here by Haggerty. This kid isn't big, but he has a nice little arm. He throws it out, gets the ball right on the numbers. Again, precision in that passing game. 24 seconds.
First and 10, 24 seconds remain inside of the 30-yard line for the Bulldogs. Haggerty back to pass, throws it deep, looking for Gaines, and ball's incomplete. Sharper with help from Mitchell.
They can still work the middle of that field either with Johnson, the tight end, or spread everyone to the outs and then bring Rhodes out of the backfield. Rhodes is helping out blocking and making sure that Silvestro doesn't come in. But you know, if you're able to get him out of the backfield, them linebackers are kind of inching to the out.
20 seconds left. Haggerty 6 for 7 on this drive. Second down and 10 for the Bulldogs. They will split Gaines left against Mitchell. Johnson split right. Haggerty looking for the screen, throws, has Gaines. Gaines still on his feet, dancing, cuts it. And cut down at about the 24-yard line, a few yards, but a lot of clock. Just 7 seconds left. and Glassboro calls timeout. We'll step away, tied at 14 here at Paulsboro. Welcome back to Paulsboro. Third down, 7 seconds remain. 23-yard line, Haggerty, quick drop, getting pressure, he's sacked! He's sacked! And that will end this regulation. We're headed to overtime.
This is Adjmer Cox going to come from the outside, going to get the rush. And Brian Childress of Paulsboro is going to get the rush coming from the outside and not allow that play to develop downfield. They were going for the end zone. They were going to take all 7 to try and bring it up top. But Childress has none of it. Stops them, and we're headed to overtime.
Well, again, this game really dominated by Paulsboro defensively, only yielding that one play from Gadsden, a 90-yard touchdown run. And then all of a sudden it looked as though Glassboro had it figured out, but simply ran out of time. Paulsboro also giving up a touchdown defensively, as Darrell Rhodes had a bad pitch end up in his arms, and he turned it the other way for a touchdown. That put Glassboro up by the score of 14-0. Paulsboro came back, scored on touchdown runs of 7 yards by Mears and a short run by Hamilton. The extra points, of course, good. Tied at 14, and now we're in overtime.
Well, this has been a terrific game, and really the tale of two halves. I mean, Paulsboro moving the football effectively in the first half, but having the one big play, and now they come out in the second half, get a couple of breaks, and they come up with the big plays. It's most of them done by Giordano, Rob. I mean, this guy really came out and threw the ball in the fourth quarter, and again,
Turnover, you can go all the way and score. Remember that, okay? Here we go.
Again, he did that with into the wind, Rob. And that's an impressive couple of drives by Giordano to be able to do what he did. And the wind's still kicking. I don't know if it's a 22 like you said at game time, but.
Now they'll come out to midfield, and it's one of those games where you hate to see a team lose.
Visitors are going to get to call the option. After that, we just alternate. The choices will be offense or defense or end of the field. The defense can score if they pick up the ball, intercept the pass, all right? Any questions you have? Anything else? Timeout. Oh, you have one timeout. Each team has one timeout, right? That's it. No, only one. Any questions, anybody? All right, gentlemen. Shake hands. Have a good game.
All right.
The captains can stay out here so they can.
Yeah, I got one. I had a question. Is this one of the best games you've seen? That would be my question. Nice job again by Ryan Ward getting in the middle of that.
Turn it over. If I drop it, we'll do it again. What do you call it? Heads. We call heads. Did everybody hear that? Heads. Okay, here we go. I can flip this. It is heads, young man. You have won the toss. You want to go on
Great work by our Channel 5 crew.
Which field would you like to choose? Okay, so we're gonna here. You line up right next to me. Go.
Well, if there's one team I think that has an edge in overtime, I'd have to say it's Paulsboro. Primarily
I think it might be that camera crew down there.
Well, no
Those
question.
guys are on top of the
But
game.
Luigi Sebastiani,
Absolutely.
certainly the best kicker of the two, and that certainly gives Paulsboro a decided edge.
Absolutely. And talked about this before the game. The one edge that Paulsboro would certainly have is on special teams, and it may come to fruition here when you have an opportunity with Sebastiani to boot one through. Glassboro, and I know Darrell Rhodes can get it through them uprights. He has a nice live leg, but after running on them throughout the course of the day, you tend to wear down and get tired, and that's where the advantage is certainly going to be for Paulsboro in the special teams play, which could come into play here.
Of course, in high school football and overtime, the way it works is each team gets the football at the 25-yard line, and then they alternate possessions. So we'll see how long it takes to decide this one.
And what Glassboro did is, for people who aren't familiar with this overtime, Glassboro wins the toss. So what they're going to do is they're going to force Paulsboro on offense first. You know what you need at that point. If they're able to get a stop, then they can move down. If they get into field goal territory, maybe they can go for a field goal where they know what they need to do. Paulsboro gets a touchdown, they know they need to score.
All right, now let me ask you a question, Sean. We've seen Paulsboro effective all afternoon, and Glassboro typically throughout the year effective on the ground, but in the latter part of that second half, both teams move the ball well, throwing the ball. Do you continue to go through the air, or do you keep it on the ground here?
If I was, well, it depends on Glassboro, I would be able to have no problem throwing it through the air. Now Glassboro also defensively, they're going to push up.
What about Paulsboro?
Now, I would try to go more toward the ground, and the reason being is Glassboro was allowing you that underneath pass because they had the lead. Now that's all out the door. Glassboro is going to come up a little bit. They're going to push their corners up on the receiver. They were playing 10 yards off the ball. As you can see now, they can't from our screen. But they're much tighter on it. They're right up on it.
Carries the football, second down. One thing I want to talk about, Sean, is, again, what a job that Glenn Howard has done here this afternoon. So many times you see coaches that when their team gets down by a couple touchdowns, they panic. Glenn Howard did not panic. He understood how much time he had. He understood the weapons that he had, and that's why we're in overtime, and that's why Glenn Howard's a great coach.
There was a point where they had a 4th and 1 at about the 48. They decided to punt and pin Glassboro deep on the punt of Sebastian.
And again, big pickup on the ground for Mears.
Late in that third quarter, 4th and 1 at their own 48. Some coaches are thinking now, 4th and 2, maybe I should go for it there. He decides on punting with Silvestro. Auger comes down, makes the nice play. Glassboro's backed up, and that's how that 4th quarter went. The decision for Glenn Howard to force them deep and rely on the special teams was key to that 4th quarter and Paulsboro's comeback.
First down and 10 off of the Mears run. So Paulsboro keeps the ball on the ground. The clock is a non-factor. Handoff, this time to Hamilton, and he'll pound it inside. And again, this is where you really start to see the opposition tackle the football.
And for Paulsboro, you know, they've kind of worn down this Glassboro team. Remember this, in years past, if you've been at Paulsboro fans know this, is you've been able to get up on teams in the Colonial Conference and really beat them down. You're up by, 28 by halftime, and your guys don't get a whole lot of work. And you're always wondering at the end of the year, in the playoff situation, are my guys going to be conditioned well enough because of that? Glassboro has to be thinking that right now, as they pretty much beat up on everyone, but you guys haven't played too many cool.
Giordano pitches to Mears. Mears is brought down, tracked down from behind by Kevin Cunningham.
Shot out of a cannon is Cunningham, coming in, making the play from the backside. And again, these linebackers, so speedy, able to come from the side, and they just do a terrific job getting sideline to sideline.
Third down here for the Red Raiders. And Giordano gets the call. They'll run it in with Sharper. So decision time here. If they do not make the first down, they'll likely rely on the right leg of Sebastiani. Sharper split left. I formation. In motion, Mears. Handoff, Hamilton. Hamilton pushing forward and now picked up and driven backwards. So he'll be short of the first down, and we'll see what Coach Howard opts for here. It looks like they're going to bring on the kicking team. So Sebastiani will attempt the field goal.
And just a quick point, Ralph Carr Jr., terrific job that time, grabbing the leg and not allowing him to pump his legs for those couple of extra yards. Grabbing the leg, picking it up, and allowing those linebackers to come up and clean up on the play.
Now remember, the defense can score off of a block or a botched snap. Fourth down. Kick is up, and it is good. It certainly wasn't pretty, but it was good.
That ball was tipped. Glassboro getting a push up front and getting one of the balls on the ball, but Sebastiani with enough leg to get it up
We've seen a little bit of everything today, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. I mean, this is a crazy game. Watch as Sebastiani, again, not getting that ball elevated enough, and it was tipped. You could see clearly tipped. Might have been Cunningham who got his hand on the ball. And now Paulsboro with a 3-point lead. Now what this does for Glassboro is the kicking game really doesn't come into play, I don't think, for this team. Unless they get it close enough, I'm not sure that Emilio will try for that. So if it's 4th down and they're not within that 10, inside the 10, they may go for it.
And we'll see again if they opt for the air. They split Gaines and Thomas left. Gadsden and Rhodes. Haggerty back to pass. Throws underneath, has a man. And Haggerty continues to be very effective here. You got to love Tim Haggerty.
Unbelievable. I mean, this guy's passes are so crisp. These balls are right in the midsection of his receivers. Watch this ball come out of Haggerty's hand. Zip! Right into the midsection of his receiver. That ball is placed perfectly where Gaines, I mean, if he doesn't catch it, he's got a hole in his stomach.
That's right. He's impaled with the football. 2nd down, very short. Haggerty. Thomas split right. He'll hand off inside to Gadsden, and he is stopped almost immediately. And that'll bring up a very, very big 3rd down.
Not a whole lot of misdirection today from Glassboro. You're sending Gadsden through the middle and then have Haggerty hold on to the football.
If I'm Emilio, I think I'd like to see a spot here, just to get a better sense of exactly what I need. Maybe allow my team to regroup a little bit, but instead, Haggerty, again, I formation here at Gadsden. And it's Haggerty, and he's stopped immediately. I don't think he got it.
That was George Johnson from his linebacker position, number 24. Nice job of coming up and stuffing Haggerty, and this is going to bring up a 4th down. Timeout going to be called by Nerlio. He's going to be thinking this one through. And nice job that time by Johnson, filling the hole, coming up, timing the snap. Leveling Haggerty to the ground after he got a little help from his friends.
Well, 4th down and short. After that first pass, picking up about 9 yards, the next 2 plays, this Paulsboro defense has been stellar, just as they've been throughout this afternoon.
Watch here again, Haggerty going to pull down, and again, George Johnson. Then you're going to get illegal really participation by the running back. Gadsden's really not allowed to help his receiver push through there. Now you can try and fake it a little bit and kind of get to the inside of your quarterback and push the blocker. But you can't just go right up into his back and try to push him forward.
Well, remember,
they're not going to call
nose of the football has to reach the 15-yard line. They started at the 25. And Sean, you have your options here. You can sneak it with Haggerty. You can hand off to the short guy.
I'd go with either Gadsden or Rhodes. I mean, these are the guys that are going to pick up those yardage for you, and they're tough runners. Both them guys are very tough runners. I got to believe in my offensive line to be able to at least pick up a few inches.
Well, here it is. Full house backfield. Haggerty hands off, and Gadsden is very close to that 1st down. And again, it's going to depend on the spot. If he gets to the 15, then it's a 1st down.
Well, he jumped right into the arms of Silvestro, and Silvestro was able to power him down, but not before I think he picked up the 1st down.
1st down, Glassboro. And that ball just barely over the 15-yard line.
Yeah, they're going to go to Gadsden here, and he's going to meet Silvestro. Boom! Silvestro is able to hit him, but the forward progress of Gadsden was enough to cross the 15.
Rhodes, your lone setback. And Haggerty quickly throws as they try to just unload that ball and allow Thomas to freelance. Instead, the ball falls incomplete.
No one was on
That'll
Thomas.
bring up a 2nd down. But again, what they tried to do here is Thomas asking for the ball quickly because he said no one was on him. But if you look, after the throw, you got Silvestro and a band of Raiders ready to collapse on top of him. 2-7-1. 2nd down and 10 now for Haggerty. And again, probably outside of the field goal range of Darrell Rhodes. Gatson in the backfield, getting a rush. Haggerty throws across the middle, caught very close to the end zone. And the ball is fumbled, and they're ruling forward progress is stopped, I believe. I'm not sure. Still no ruling on the field.
That's the ball game.
Fumble, and the game is over. The game is over. Paulsboro coming back from a 14-0 deficit. Victorious. And all of the players out on the field jubilant. What a comeback by the Red Raiders.
And you're right, Rob. I'm not too sure that forward progress was not stopped and the play should have been called dead at that point. Shamar Gaines, fighting for that extra yardage to get in the end zone, was stripped by the Paulsboro defender. I think that might have been George Johnson. They give him the football. What a game.
Well, you look at Glassboro out on the field, literally players on their back, just totally defeated. And conversely, Paulsboro elated.
What an unbelievable come-from-behind win against this Glassboro team. Now let's take a real good look at this. George Johnson being consoled by one of his coaches. And they're going to get the ball into Shamar Gaines' hand. They're going to roll him out a little bit. Nice pickup of a block on Hester. Right over the middle of the field. This is a gutsy throw. And Gaines is able to come up with it. Now he's fighting for extra yardage. Is his forward progress stopped here? Should it have been called at this point? George Johnson, right now that ball was being held up by Castrava. Castrava's holding him up, and George Johnson calls. I think you could have gone either way with that. You could have called the forward progress stopped on that play. You could also call it that he was holding him up and he still had momentum going a little bit and go for the strip.
Paulsboro victorious 17-14 in a game that saw just about everything, ending on a play literally inches from the goal line. This has certainly been one of the greatest games that we've done together, Sean, and probably will go down as certainly one of the greatest in the annals of Channel 5. And we'll have the reaction from the Paulsboro Red Raiders right after this. Stick around. Paulsboro High School, your Group 1 South Jersey champions, victorious in overtime, 17-14. Post-game interviews and a wrap-up right after this. Welcome back to Paulsboro High School. Victorious Paulsboro over Glassboro 17-14 in overtime. South Jersey Group 1 champions once again, 10th time since 1992. It seems, Coach, that every time it gets better. I know that it's very tough to kind of rank wins in terms of the long and proud tradition you've had here at Paulsboro, but again, kind of reflect upon today's game versus some of those other championships you've won.
Well, this game was right up there with the best of them, falling behind 14-0, and then the kids showing the desire and the character and the work ethic to come back and you know, when it looked like we didn't have a chance with not much time on the clock, they found a way to win. And I'm just really blessed, and I thank God for the opportunity to work with these young men. Got a great group of guys, a great group of seniors. I hate to see them go, but I'm very proud of them and all the guys, all the way down to the freshmen that serve on the gold squad, we call it, with their efforts today. What a fabulous effort they gave.
You know, this is a team that has really rebounded in so many different ways. You've had a number of injuries that have been well documented. Last week, you were soundly beaten by a West Effort team, and yet you come out and maybe put together your best effort of the year.
Yeah, we talked about the West Defford game, and that game we faced a great West Defford team, and we got beat, like you said, very soundly. We looked at the film. We did make a lot of mistakes that game, and we said we're going to evaluate it, try to correct our mistakes, and then put it behind us because we got a championship game to play. And that's exactly what the kids did. They didn't dwell on the past. They didn't let it affect their week of practice, their week of preparation, and it came out today. And what an effort they gave. We told the kids some bad things might happen, and a couple did. I mean, we felt as though we were dominating the first half. We didn't get any points, but we felt as though we moved the ball and playing great defense. And when he broke that long run, you know, you got a tendency to, oh, here we go again, you know. But we told the guys, hey, that's one bad thing that happened. Hey, keep your heads up and keep fighting. And that's just what they did. They fought for 4 quarters and the overtime period. So, like I said, I'm just very blessed and thank God for the opportunity to work with such a group of, you know, great young guys, in my opinion.
You know, watching this game, we commented on the air that so often we see coaches kind of panic. And you guys were behind 14-0, and what I saw in you is a situation where you really didn't panic at all. I think that speaks to you as a head coach, and as importantly, it speaks to the confidence that you had in your players.
Right. We have a lot of confidence in our guys, and those situations, whether the kids know it or not, we practice those situations all the time in practice. 2-minute drill. I had both eyes on the clock, so I knew exactly how much time was on the clock, but we know we didn't want to go into the 2-minute drill too early. And the kids did a nice job executing it. We moved the ball. Paul made a nice play scrambling and hitting Alex down there on the sideline. That was a big play. And we were a little bit concerned about our pass protection because, you know, you got George Johnson and you got other great players they have up front. And our pass protection wasn't very good last week versus West Defford. So we worked on it hard this week because we knew there would be times or situations where we would have to throw the ball. And, you know, it paid off for us. But the kids executed and did a really nice job. But we work on those things a lot in practice, so it paid off today.
Well, again, Coach, I want to congratulate you. Anytime you win a championship, it's not just one man. There's a host of heroes. Our Sean Leary has quite a few of them.
Well, I'm here with George Johnson. George, congratulations. Your play at the end of the game, obviously the big play. Just explain what happened down there.
They were about on the 2 1-yard line. I seen Daniel hold him up, just stuck my head in there and tried to rip the ball out, and it came out.
That's a situation where he can plunge himself into the end zone and you go for the strip.
Yeah, he could have easily dove right in, but Daniel held him up long enough for me to get in there.
Did you think at all that they could have called progress stopped right there at that point?
They could have, but I don't even know. They might have not.
Well, you're holding the trophy. Congratulations to you, the play of the game. And I'm here with a winning quarterback executing a come-from-behind victory in the fourth quarter. Tell me what it feels like.
Feels great. We fell behind 14-0 at half, and we came in our 7-0 at the half and fell 14-0 in the second half. So I had faith in the rest of the guys. We can come back and win.
About how healthy were you? What percentage?
Maybe like 80%. In the beginning of the week, I wasn't even sure I was going to play, but the rest of the week it got better and better, so I gave it a shot.
Sebastiani's able to boot that through. What are you thinking at that point?
Lou's one of my best friends. It's good. I felt real good when he did that.
Well, congratulations to you. A lot of emotions outpouring from him. And of course, this guy here who I seen you enter the game, really emotional. They did this for you, DeAndre. You're a guy who came throughout this whole, the whole year being the guy. But then when they lose you, they're able to come back and still win a championship. What does that say for the character of this team?
Hey, man, we got a lot of character. I mean, we've been down 12-0 before. Collinswood, they just came in halftime, regrouped, came back out, played a heck of a second half, came out with the win.
And you're watching it like us, seeing it as a fans, one of the best games you've seen?
Yeah, by far. Yeah, this one going down in the books.
Well, congratulations to you and your two teammates. Still a part of this South Jersey championship is DeAndre Folks. And Rob, like you said, I think maybe this could have been the best game that I've been associated with here on Channel 5.
Well, again, I mean, what can you say? Paulsboro team down by the score of 14-0. It's a crazy game. They certainly dominated. Glassboro unable to get any first downs in the first half, and yet they are ahead 7-0 at the break, go up 14-0, and Paulsboro just shows tremendous resiliency. And if there's one thing that I have learned over the years doing Channel 5 Sports is don't count out a Paulsboro football team.
Well, I think a lot of people did, and you just look at this team and what they're able to accomplish with the injuries that they had. Remember, Giordano not coming in healthy at all. You had Nate Dawson, their fullback, starting fullback, not in the game. DeAndre Folks, a star of this team, out with an injury, and this team was still able to overcome all the injuries, all the adversity, and win a South Jersey championship. Congratulations to them, and congratulations to the Bulldogs. Probably the best game that I've been associated here. What a game.
For Paulsboro, I think every prognosticator said that Glassboro is going to win this football game. And, Paulsboro rarely finds themselves in a position as an underdog. Today they found themselves in that position, and then that's coupled with a 14-point deficit, and they really turned on the afterburners. And again, kudos to Coach Howard, a tremendous job that he did along with his coaching staff to keep his kids focused on the prize. And, of course, that's exactly what they captured at the end, the prize.
Well, not only they capitalize on the momentum late in the game, but when that 4th down and short, he goes for the punt with Silvestro. Auger comes down and downs the ball, pins them deep, and the defense takes over from there. They have been playing well. Giordano was able to come down and make a couple of great passes. What a great job all around from not only but the team that executed, but the play called by Coach Howard.
Well, I can't think of a better way to cap off our Channel 5 football season with a fantastic game. Paulsboro victorious over Glassboro, 2 schools in our viewing area. And, Sean, if there's one thing I know, if anybody's interested in a good party, I guarantee there will be plenty around Paulsboro tonight. Paulsboro, their 10th South Jersey Group 1 championship since 1992. That is just an incredible number of wins, of championships. Speaks volumes about what goes on in this town between the coaching staff, the hard work of these players, and I can't say enough about the community, because every time you come out to a Paulsboro game, you know it's going to be festive, you know they're going to be behind their players, and you know you're out for a good time. Congratulations go out to both of these teams. Once again, Paulsboro victorious 17-14 in overtime over Glassboro. South Jersey Group 1 champions. For my partner, Sean Leary, my director, Stan Ritter, all of our crew, I'm Rob Christ. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.